The Connor Happer Show.
Had a bad experience,
Yes.
Josh. Mm-hmm. Would you like to talk about it?
In high school, I had a girlfriend who was trying to change my appearance to be more like Harry Potter. I don't know what tipped me off.
You were like, are you trying to Harry Potterize me?
I don't know if those were the exact words, but that was pretty much the beginning of the end for that.
Wow, what a time.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from a Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A breezy and mild day ahead for Thursday. Expect sunshine in the morning with more clouds in the afternoon as a cold front passes through. Highs will top out in the mid-50s around midday, then slide into the 40s by the evening. Still can't rule out a stray shower between noon and 4 p.m. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. Good morning and happy Thursday to all of you out there. No accidents or slow-moving traffic to report here in the early morning hours. Things look to be moving pretty smoothly as of now. Had some rain last night, but doesn't look like we'll have any this morning that should impact any visibility or driving for you. Just remember to stay safe and wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krenzer.
Time-Saving Traffic is brought to you by Omaha Transmission.
If you're having transmission problems, you need a specialist. Call Omaha Transmission and see why people have been recommending them for almost 20 years.
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Hi, I'm Mike Yam with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Another former NFL coach is in the mix for the Cowboys defensive coordinator position. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport is reporting that Rex Ryan interviewed for the vacancy on Wednesday. He previously was with the Jets and the Bills, but has been out of coaching since the 2016 season. Meantime, Steelers owner and team president Art Rooney II is not ruling out the possibility of trading for a veteran quarterback this offseason. Rooney told KDKA-TV in Pittsburgh, quote, "As we sit here in early February, we're not closing the door on anything." And Tom Brady was asked on his Let's Go podcast by his co-host Jim Gray if he was surprised that his former coach Bill Belichick hadn't landed a head coaching job in the recent hiring cycle. Brady responded saying, quote, I'm surprised that the greatest coach ever doesn't have a job. Absolutely, but I'm surprised by a lot of things in the NFL. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure that you'll get your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100. Jackson
Hewitt!
And Jackson Hewitt also guarantees the accuracy of your return for life.
Hewitt!
So don't just sit there. For your biggest refund guaranteed, walk into a Jackson Hewitt today and dance out Jackson Hewitt!
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all three with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
It's the most time-honored tradition to start the weekend, grabbing a cold one from a local Nebraska brewery. Let's be real here. It's cold outside, and you don't want to drink the same boring beer as those Hawkeye fans. Drink Nebraska brewed beer, cider, or seltzers instead. Each week, we're putting the spotlight on a unique Nebraska brewery with One Beer Friday. Share your brew on social media with the hashtag One Beer Friday, and you'll be entered to win a $25 gift card to a local Nebraska brewery. Nebraska is the good life with great beer. Click nebraska.beer to learn more.
Hey guys, it's Nick for Hims. Look, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves when, say, we're losing our hair or you're having problems in the bedroom. But the good thing about that is you're not alone and there's something you can do about it. 52% of men over 40 experience some form of ED, and male pattern hair loss affects about 50% of men by the age of 50. Through Hims, You can upgrade your daily routines with prescription treatments that can make a big difference and help you regain your confidence and help you feel like yourself again. So if you want to regrow your hair, have better sex, or tackle anxiety and depression, you don't have to go to the doctor, the pharmacy, or spend all day talking about it. Just go to hims.com and do something about it. And the best part about it is, since it's all online, that means no doctor's offices, no pharmacies, just solutions that can bring real results. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/start. That's hims.com/start for your free online visit. HIMS.com/START.
There's a lot more to love for a lot less at Saul's Jewelry and Loan. Now through Valentine's Day, get 50% off a huge selection of jewelry. Heart-shaped jewelry, gemstones, everything you need to show your love. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. It's the Celebration of Love sale with 50% off jewelry at Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
If you're looking for the perfect plan for Valentine's Day, Agave Azteca has the Valentine's special just for you. Enjoy an unforgettable moment with your love in a charming atmosphere with live music, 2 dishes of your choice, 2 drinks, and a dessert, all for only $49.95. But that's not all. They have a daily lunch menu from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for just $7 Monday through Friday, and the dinner menu from 6 to 9 p.m. for just $10 Monday through Thursday. 5170 South 72nd Street in Ralston. Agave Azteca, the shortcut to Mexico.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
1620 The Zone.
If you want to believe for 1 second that Providence has only fouled 1 time in 12 minutes, I got a bridge to sell you in Fremont, Nebraska, over an ocean. For those of you not familiar, Fremont, Nebraska is nowhere near an ocean.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Hey, guys. Great to see you.
Hey, you guys know I learned something every day from John Bishop. I mean, if I would have had John Bishop earlier in my life and we didn't meet until the mid-90s, I would be so much smarter because I did not know that Fremont was not next to an ocean. I mean, that's why I tune into 1620 The Zone to get educated.
Well, they have very large lake out there, Gary.
Yeah, they do, but I mean, Fremont Fred wouldn't tell us that that's an ocean.
That's true. Welcome
in, everybody. It's a Thursday morning, a split show. I am in the state of North Dakota where it's 47 degrees. And
Get out of here.
Yeah, and the first time I've ever been up here, because Omaha men's basketball, which is the Switzerland, it's the only thing that people are like, hey, all right, that's good compared to last night's hoops. Omaha opens up a huge weekend. Tonight they take on first place North Dakota in Grand Forks, and then on Saturday against North Dakota State. But as we were making our way up yesterday, there's no snow on the ground. First time I've ever been up this way, and there's absolutely no snow, and it's 47 degrees right now in the state of North Dakota. So with bad hotel coffee, good morning, boys, back in Omaha.
Yeah, is that freaking people out up there? I mean, I'm sure they're celebrating it, but in a way, that's got to make you feel like, gosh, this global warming thing, something's happening. Something's going to happen that's going to like really change the trajectory of the world right now. If you go up to North Dakota and you don't see that,
I have no idea, but people here are happy. So never did I think. First of all, it was a week ago today that we talked about Groundhog Day. Didn't last night feel like Groundhog Day watching Creighton play?
Yep.
Shot the ball well like they did against Butler, lost in overtime. Nebraska, which looked like the recipe for getting blown out on the road, that looked exactly the same. I thought, wow, where's Bill Murray? Where's he going to come out from behind the curtain? Bad night of hoops last night, but people are angry. There's a lot of anger today. Whether you be Bishop is fighting with a troll on Twitter, Creighton is upset at the officials. Everybody is upset at the TV broadcast last night. Why the hell was the game on FS2? Dave Sims and Donnie Marshall, they blow. I mean, just there's so much anger. Never did I also think, guys, that on a night like last night where, you got Creighton and Nebraska going simultaneously, that it would be Nebraska football news from yesterday that might be the uniting thing that makes people happy. That's not supposed to happen.
Not typically, no. And so I don't know if you heard this. I'm not doing this ever again. Now, this was also one of the road trips that you had, so you probably didn't hear it earlier. I actually said I'm going to say Nebraska's going to break the road jinx against Maryland. That didn't happen. I said yesterday, yep, why not? It's going to happen.
That didn't make it past 8:20.
So I'm not doing that again. So if you want to direct your angst, you can do so at me, because the last 2 times I've actually said Nebraska's going to get off the schneid on the road, it has not happened. In fact, it's looked really, really ugly. The one thing about Bishop, and I've noticed this now the last few games on the road, he's sitting right next to Marcus Blossom. So he's doing all of this, and he's getting animated. I wonder what Marcus Blossom's thinking. Like, that's our guy right there, man.
There is
where's Fremont?
the Bishop's going to get into a fight before the season's over. They still have to go to Villanova. They'll be in Cincinnati. That place will be rocking. But as I watched both of those games last night, and so Creighton loses again to a team that is fighting for their postseason life. And Creighton couldn't get stops when they needed them. And Providence, that's, guys, without Bryce Hopkins, I don't care if they have Devin Carter, who is a dude, and Oduro.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a great team. But that was a desperate team that beat a team that, went through the month of January 7-1, and we were going, hey, good job. Good job. You're back. Mm-hmm. Well, they got beat by a team that wanted it more. That's the same thing that happened in Nebraska last night. They got beat by a team that wanted it more and just hammered Nebraska. That's what I saw last night. Is Purdue and Northwestern are playing for their NCAA lives.
Yep.
And they had 2 home games, and both of them play really well at home. And they balled out to find a way to win a basketball game, whether it be in overtime or essentially once the ball went up in the air, Northwestern had Nebraska beat.
Yep. Yeah, and the 2 things that stick out more than anything. And first of all, if you remember against Northwestern at home, everybody, we talked about this a lot yesterday, was the 2 phases that Fred talks about, that they have to be at least winning one of them, and they did nothing even close to that yesterday. The being out-rebounded. This is not a long, lengthy Northwestern team. I mean, there was a reason Nebraska was able to really take care of them actually pretty handily on the boards in Lincoln, and yet you still give up 13 offensive rebounds in that one yesterday. You turn the ball over 17 times. Now, Nebraska was sloppy with the basketball against Northwestern previously at home, but they were able to hold on and win that game. But at least, again, they had that advantage. Gary, this is the thing that maybe I shouldn't be surprised with it, because you do see this a lot, and we know it's not going to change. Okay, this is what Nebraska is. But even when it looks like they have everybody accounted for when it comes to a shot going up, even when they get a rebound defensively, it looks like one of the most challenging things. Like, usually it's ping-ponging around from a couple of different hands from the opposition and Nebraska before they actually even secure it. So even when they're getting rebounds, it doesn't look like, oh yeah, they're owning their area, they're getting the ball, they're chinning it, and they're ready to get the pass out and start the transition game. Like, that part of it I'm watching last night, even from the early set of, oh God, we know how this is going to go. Please take care of the basketball, because I think in the first 5 minutes we saw, I think, at least 2 offensive rebounds. That it's just not a good omen. I know it's not going to change, but last night it hit me that even when they do get a rebound, it looks extremely challenging.
Yeah, and especially when you decided to go big with a lineup. You took Lawrence out of the lineup for the first time in 23 games. You went big, and you still got beat on the boards.
Mm-hmm.
My problem with Nebraska last night is Nebraska looked exactly the same as they've looked on the road outside of Champaign on Sunday, where they fought and they played hard and they played winning plays. Last night, they looked drained from the start.
Yeah.
And, I know that it's back-to-back overtime, but Northwestern played back-to-back overtime games. Nebraska looks spent when that game started. And I'm thinking, did they make a mistake by flying back on Sunday to Lincoln, being in Nebraska for a couple of days, then flying back to Chicago? I don't know. I'm not here to make excuses. Nebraska was bad last night, and they got beat by a team that wants to help their resume in the NCAA tournament. But the recipe for a road blowout, which Nebraska has perfected, Hoiberg is going to be on like the next great chef because he knows how to have a road blowout.
Right.
He has the cookbook all set up. That's exactly what they did last night. I mean, until late in the game, they had no fight. And they were getting abused. Tominaga was getting trolled. And I'm like, I thought we were getting over the hump. I understand it's tough to win on the road. It's tough to win on the road in college basketball. But you went back to what you look like essentially against Maryland, against Wisconsin, where your perimeter defense got lost, your communication broke down, you couldn't grab a rebound, and you had no flow offensively. I mean, the season's not over, and I've already said Nebraska's in the tournament. Don't play yourself out. But boy, when you have performances like that, that's a bad loss. That's just a bad loss on how it looked coming together against Northwestern, who had Boo Buie, and they played harder than Nebraska. That's the bottom line. They played harder than Nebraska.
And that was, to me, the more remarkable thing about Northwestern's sense of urgency. You would think that, and you kind of mentioned what both Creighton and Nebraska saw last night. Northwestern, they're fine. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament. They're fine. Yet they did play with a sense of urgency. They played with desperation. They played like a team that was pissed off that they lost in Lincoln. Boo Buie played like a guy who was bottled up in Lincoln, and he was not going to let that happen. I talked about this yesterday, that watch two guys in the early parts of this game, and it might tell you exactly what you're going to see in this game. And that was, how is Casey out of the first 8 minutes, and how is Boo Buie in the first 8 minutes? Boo Buie was getting shots. He was not going to be he wasn't going to be confined this time. And I think that showed me not only a guy, but also a team that, regardless of where they are in the NCAA tournament conversation and seeding wise, that they're not happy with that. They're a team that, again, I think that, as simple as that, they wanted it more. And this is the disappointing thing about Nebraska and watching that game last night, is for a team that we know is a much different team at home. I wanted to believe, like you did, that what they did Sunday against Illinois was maybe kind of a light bulb moment of, hey, okay, yeah, they lost the game, but even when some things aren't going down, maybe things aren't being called, they're still able to fight through it. Like, you're right, this was old Nebraska, and then I'm looking at what happened before them, where I know this team feels like when they're at home, they're invincible. And I hope that confidence always continues regardless of what happens on the road. I hope that is a trend that just is always going to be the case for Nebraska. But then I watch Michigan pull off an upset against Wisconsin, thinking, okay, that team's coming to Lincoln. They're going to be feeling pretty good about themselves. Nebraska has had the ability and has shown throughout the season that they can shake that part of it off, that mental part of it off, and play to the home crowd. But fatigue, the stretch of games, and, just as Fred has said, when they look like this, being punked on the road and playing a team that essentially feels like they've got nothing to lose at all in Michigan, that becomes interesting. It's not a great look. Doesn't give you a great feeling going into the weekend. And this is where, Gary, we talked about, you're now in that stretch of games where, okay, you like Nebraska's chances, but if you slip, that's why if you win last night, you give yourself a little bit of a backstop there. Now you're looking at what is a very, very delicate part of your schedule of, sure, you're probably going to be favored in some of these games, but if you lose one, then things start getting a little bit nerve-wracking for your NCAA tournament prospects.
Yeah, you do it to yourself, and Nebraska did that last night. Now, I've already looked this morning at a couple of brackets, and Nebraska really hasn't changed much. Northwestern's going to age very well over the course of the season. The thing that Nebraska, you do it to yourself, is you play with fire. When you have these kind of performances where you have little fight and it's a one-sided game, you're trying to play against a bad out-of-conference strength of schedule and no wins on the road. So you're trying to help your resume on the other side. And yes, Purdue and Wisconsin do help you, but Nebraska's got to help themselves because they've now started to play with some fire. They have 4 of their next 7, or their last 7 are at home. They only played 2 games in the next 10 days. No excuses. Now, you bring up Michigan, and that's a bad loss for Wisconsin last night. Michigan finally had a lead at halftime, and they held on, and they won that game, and they snapped a 5-game losing streak. They won't have McDaniel when they come into Lincoln on Saturday because he's serving the road suspension. He had 16 last night. But you got to help yourself. There's no more excuses, and there's no guarantee. And I've been a big proponent of, hey, Nebraska's in the tournament, but there's no guarantee that in a 7-game stretch we can sit here and go, oh, they're going to go 5-2 because they haven't done that. So you're playing with fire, and you have to prove it to yourself that you are an NCAA team, which I believe they are. But last night puts a little bit of doubt in my head just because of the way they played. They didn't have fight. They looked drained in the first half, and Northwestern could do whatever they wanted against them. I mean, they were down 21. They never led in that game. Nope. Give me something. Give me a fight. Let's get to that final media timeout, and this game is still close. Not let's get to the final media timeout, and Nebraska's in scramble mode trying to make sure they don't get beat by 21. That was disappointing last night. They got punked. For Creighton, here's the thing about that game is they in certain spots got punked because Providence was tougher. Providence wanted that game. Providence plays in a building that, man, I got to be there. I wish they would not have changed it from the Dunkin' Donuts Center. That atmosphere in Providence is off the charts.
Yeah.
And Providence plays. Rhode Island is a mafia town. I mean, Providence is a mafia town.
Right.
Okay. So there's a lot of mafia in Providence, and it's a blue collar town. That's a blue collar basketball team that the crowd gets going. They get up into your shorts. They let them play a little bit, and that's how Providence works last night. But tell me this: if you're Creighton, and Creighton, that's not a ding, but all of a sudden you're 7-5 in the Big East. If I would tell you that what is more believable here, Nick and Jimmy, that Creighton would shoot 25 of 54 from 3-point range in the last 2 games and be 0-2, or Creighton defensively in back-to-back games would give up 99 and 91 despite scoring 98 and 87.
The second one right there. I think you nailed it. I mean, the 3-point efficiency is one thing, but this is the one thing even that was more remarkable about the Butler loss was what Creighton had shown throughout the year defensive efficiency-wise, and that now you've lost back-to-back games that way, where this isn't a team that we're looking at and saying, well, yeah, but Creighton is god-awful defensively. That hasn't been the MO. So that is completely playing against the trend right now as far as what Creighton has given up despite how well they've shot. Like, and you've seen it, you've watched and covered enough college basketball that typically when you're having an off night defensively, that'll carry over into your offense as well. Defensively, if you're having breakdowns, your offense maybe isn't as crisp. So you kind of see everything kind of implode right there. For Creighton, the offense, even at times, has almost been to the point that like they can't miss. Like the first part of that game, both of those teams couldn't miss. And then when you can't get a stop, you feel like sometimes that disappointment is going to kind of settle into your offense too, and you're going to maybe feel a sense of urgency. Maybe you're going to rush some shots. Maybe you're going to get away from your system. And that really hasn't been the case for Creighton. They've pretty much stayed true to what they're trying to do. I mean, the last couple of possessions were a great indicator, other than the illegal screen by Kalkbrenner. When you had Ashworth coming off of like the set, the offensive sets were still there. So I give them credit from that standpoint of even when your defense is breaking down or a team is just scorching hot, that they're still sticking to their offense and they're still sticking true to the identity. But I got to ask the question, is that defense now starting to become a bit of a problem? It's one thing when a team is shooting lights out against you in one game out of maybe, a handful of games, but you're starting to see some offensive success. And now it was on the road last night, but we've also seen it at home lately too. And this is where I was bringing this up yesterday, Gary, is you're starting to see these teams, Nebraska and Creighton, and then we'll see Omaha, big game tonight, obviously, taking on the identity of what they're going to be. And there's going to be things that maybe you like, things that you can kind of hang your hat on as far as conference postseason and hopefully NCAA tournament postseason play for anybody. But also you kind of look at what could keep them from ultimately reaching that potential. And for Creighton, we know what that expectation is. That expectation is you at least got to get into the second weekend. Defensively, are they a team right now that you trust can get there?
Yeah, I think last night, both Blue Nebraska and Red Nebraska, they are exactly who they are. Their identity showed up like one lost in overtime in a 4-point game. The other got beat on the road at Northwestern. For Nebraska, the lack of athleticism isn't going to change.
Nope.
The fact that if Tominaga is not hitting threes, I don't know how much of a value he is to you. The lack of communication when things get a little bit tight. the recipe for a road blowout where you don't rebound really well. Nebraska, to win games, needs somebody to get on a heater. And then they need to bring a friend along. They need a Wiltshire or a Mast. Last night, they didn't have Mast. Mast didn't even score in the first half. So where were they going to go for offense? So they need to get somebody on a heater offensively because they're not able to stack back-to-back nights of, hey, I can count on Bryce Williams to give me 15. Mast is going to give me a 10 and 10. Tominaga is going to give me 14. There's also the issue with Nebraska when it comes to that's what their identity is. Because they lack athleticism, they don't have a 5 that stands around the rim and blocks shots or rebound basketballs. They have a 5 that plays at the top of the key. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but in this case, they don't have anybody else outside of Gary that goes and gets you a rebound.
Right.
Nebraska's issue is Nebraska to win games has got to play so hard.
Yes.
They've got the Boo Buie got locked up in Lincoln because Sam Hoiberg and Jamarcus Lawrence went balls to the wall on defense against him, and Bowie couldn't throw it in the ocean. Last night, Nebraska didn't work as hard on him, and he got loose a little bit more, especially on the perimeter where he had space, and he was draining shots. So that's Nebraska's identity. For Creighton's identity, their big three are going to get going. The big three is going to put up a lot. Again, you wasted a heck of a performance by Shireman. But when it comes to their defense, they don't force a lot of turnovers. You saw Providence last night, especially Devin Carter, he's a pick six machine. They're going to take the ball away and they're going to put it in at the other end. That's not Creighton. Creighton is hoping that you'll take a bad shot that you'll miss, that they'll get the rebound, and they'll turn it into transition points. So they don't get the extra possessions. That's been there all year. So all the angst of last night, it comes to the forefront that's who both teams are. That's their identity. And it's February 8th. We are, five weeks away from a bracket? These issues that showed up last night are something that you don't see that have been fixed. So I think they're there. You just try and go with the opposite to overcome, whether it be shoddy defense where a team shoots lights out and you're not getting turnovers, or you're sloppy with your turnovers. Creighton's problem last night was live ball turnovers, or Nebraska, which is simply, man, you got to have effort. You got to go all the way to the wall every single game for that team to have success.
Yeah, and that's the thing about maybe is more frustrating about Nebraska when I think about who they're getting out rebounded by and teams that they've actually been okay against. Now, again, they were okay against Northwestern at home, but remember that Ohio State game, and it's the common denominator. They were at home, but Ohio State coming into that game when they played in Lincoln was one of the better rebounding teams in all of the conference and in one of the top 25 in all of college basketball. And Nebraska completely negated that. They weren't even a factor. Ohio State wasn't on the glass. And when you talk about effort, I think whether you're talking about Pop Warner basketball, you're talking about AAU, you're talking about high school, college, that's
Pop
effort.
Warner basketball.
Yeah, is there Pop
How
Warner?
How high is the rim in that league?
Little league basketball. They're playing on 6-foot rims. But any coach is always going to tell you that's effort. You don't have to be a talented person to be able to box out space. You need to know, just get to a body and you put your butt into them and you occupy your space. So if they are getting even a taller individual, if they're getting over you, well, then hopefully you'll get the over the back call. So that to me is an effort thing more than anything. But you're right, as far as having your biggest guy out on the floor is not always playing in the paint. But those to me are effort things when it comes to Nebraska. I'm not trying to say that they should be out rebounding all these teams, especially ones that are gifted with length, from the 1 to the 5. But when it comes to teams like Northwestern, who's not this overly long team, but they're getting after the glass, and teams know that now too. They're crashing because they know Nebraska cannot do that. They cannot box them out. So that is the big MO. When I look at Creighton too, the other part that you didn't bring up that I think we've seen now for the past couple of months, I think Ryan Kalkbrenner's presence at the rim was a major deterrent for a long time. I think there's now that idea that if you have at least a physical big guy, you don't even have to match him height-wise, and very few can, but if you have a physical big guy, you know, going in, yeah, you're going to have a couple shots turned away, but you keep taking it to him. You keep taking it to him, and eventually you'll get him into some positions where either he's under the rim, you can use that as protection. And you saw Oduro do that a lot last night too. Oduro's 6'9", but he's physical. He plays bigger, and he was relentless down low too. He didn't care. He was throwing his weight around. I think that's another thing that for teams that Creighton plays, when you have big men that do not match the size of Ryan Kalkbrenner, they know if they can be physical and they can accept it. Yeah, every now and then a shot, because I'll give Ryan Kalkbrenner a lot of credit. He doesn't buy on the shot fakes. He's very disciplined with his feet. He typically goes straight up. It's why he's very good at turning shots away. But if you continue to kind of get into him, you get him into some very vulnerable positions.
Yeah, Kalkbrenner has to own last night. That's not a good look. That's not a good look at all, because Oduro challenged him. You know, the first meeting, Kalkbrenner won. He's a defensive player in the Big East. Okay. The second meeting last night, he took it to him and he won that battle big time. That was a big L for Creighton in that category last night. And even more so, Providence is going to play away until they're officiated not to play that way. And they're going to be physical. And you got to understand, if Providence and their MO is to be physical, especially in that building where I think the crowd gets going and it influences how they play, how the game is managed, is if you're going to let them play that way, they're not going to stop. And, you know, last night, and I would be curious on how people thought that game was officiated. You know, there were some calls late in the game both ways that you could die on a hill for. But for the most part, they just let them play Big East basketball and beat the crap out of each other. And it's tough. It's not aesthetically pleasing, but yet I'm thinking, man, we just had a 91-87 game with some elite shot making on both sides. But back to Kalkbrenner, is Oduro challenged him. Kalkbrenner's got to wake up this morning and go, that's a bad L on me. I'm the defensive player in the Big East. Now I need some help. And their drop coverage changes a little bit on how he can get to the rim and rebound and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, we can go on and on about on where he gets some help. But Oduro challenged you. He went 32-12, but Providence challenged Creighton in the paint. They got into the paint for 46 points last night. You got to own that. And you're right, Nick. That's an issue for Creighton, that if you have somebody like Oduro, that once you get a little success, because he had struggled a bit, he had success, and they let's just keep feeding the beast. And that's what they did last night. So again, I think both teams that played last night are exactly who they are and will be. It's just, how do you overcome those? How do you have the pieces to, not have a recipe for a road blowout? Or when you have an incredible offensive performance, especially with the big three, you don't waste it on the other end because you gave it to them with careless turnovers. I mean, Creighton, careless live ball turnovers. Last night, Nebraska, same thing. The same damn thing with 35 feet away from the basket. They make these lazy passes.
Yep.
What are they doing?
Well, and the other thing with Nebraska that was infuriating is the game started to kind of tease you, because I guarantee you everybody last night, they were staying in on this thing until the very end, at least until the last 4 minutes, because you kept thinking, all right, they overcame a 19-point deficit a week ago against Wisconsin. We know road Nebraska is different than home Nebraska, but they've at least earned that. Let's keep seeing if something will happen. And then, then they would get to 12, and then Northwestern would hit a shot. Then they would get to 10, and then Northwestern would hit a shot. But during that stretch where you knew it was vital for them to at least get to like the 8-minute media where it'd be a single-digit game, they had so many looks inside. Even like Juwan Gary and like guys that you really like that can get inside and usually hit those shots. Like they had a lot of high percentage shots inside that were not falling. And that, I will actually say, has been, for the most part, I think, masked from Nebraska. We saw that early in the season in some of their struggles on the road, that they were missing a lot of bunnies. I feel like for the most part, they've kind of overcome that even on the road. When they're struggling on the road, it's not necessarily missing those types of shots. That was happening last night too. So again, there was something that was kind of an old issue that sort of crept up. And I'll ask you this one, because I don't think Fred did this on purpose, but when he spoke on Monday, or maybe it was, it would have been Monday when he talked on the network, he had mentioned, and he even mentioned it after the game on Sunday, about their schedule, the quick turnaround. And you even brought it up. Maybe it was a mistake to go back to Lincoln and then go back out to Chicago. But he did bring up that stretch of schedule where, obviously they're going to be tired, back-to-back overtime games. it was something that he acknowledged just in the way that they were going to prepare, where they went very light on Monday, then they were going to go hard on Tuesday before the game. I don't know if he sort of set us up for the type of overall effort you did see. I mean, I have no problem being critical because everybody's going through stretches like this and they're finding a way to win. I mean, you mentioned it. Northwestern, they just look like a much better team energy-wise, and they've also gone through some overtime swings here. So maybe we shouldn't be so surprised that they were sluggish as much as they were. I'm just so surprised that they were that sluggish right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's especially with what was on the line. Now, so they played 4 games in 12 days. 2 of those were overtime games. Now they get 2 in the next 10. They get Michigan at home on Saturday, which is not even debatable about what has to happen.
Yeah.
And then you have to you wonder about Creighton. I mean, Creighton's played a lot of basketball and they're not playing a lot of people. They're 351st in the country in bench minutes. And you had 2 guys that played 45 minutes last night. You know, I'm going to be hard on Kalkbrenner because he's a defensive player of the year and he can't get owned like that. But he played 42 minutes last night. You know, they tried to bring Jason Green in. Jason Green gave you a little spurt. Mason Miller is probably, not hanging on the trust tree right now. Farabello seems to be with the other 4 on the floor.
Isaac Trout give you a few minutes?
Yeah, it's just it's that time of the year. It's not, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and how do you manage it? And here's with Creighton's deal. And this is the Big East. I mean, the Big East is a beast outside of relegated DePaul. Every night is going to be like this, and especially when you play teams that they want a Creighton win on their resume, and they've got to have that to be sexy when they get to March if the rest of the resume isn't so appealing. So people are playing hard. You're going to find out another thing on Saturday. That's the thing now. Now this is where Mac comes into play. I don't think Creighton is very good as a front-running team. When a lot of people are like, man, that's Creighton. That's great. This is awesome.
I'm right there with you.
I don't think they're very good. I think when the chips are down, Mac is better. Well, I'm telling you, they've lost 2 games in a row, and I'll be very curious to see what the line is Sunday or Saturday in Cincinnati. Xavier is playing well since they lost in Omaha. And you remember, that's a game where Sean Miller had a meltdown, and Butler was right in that with Creighton on the road. They've won 3 in a row. They got a key victory last night. And also in the Cintas Center, you know how Creighton plays in there. So for the next couple of days, this is all about Mac. And this is where I think Mac shines, is when Creighton is being doubted. And I'm not saying people are like, well, they're out of the tournament. No, but they've lost 2 in a row. And you're like, oh boy, are we hitting the wall?
What's your trust level?
And you know what? Nebraska kind of in a much different light, where we don't say Nebraska basketball is a front runner. How does Nebraska deal with success? It seems like they bounce back from failure. Well, last night was a big failure. So Saturday is a huge, huge day of basketball in a rebound for both of these teams, facing one team in Michigan that is a long way away from even talking about the NCAA tournament, and for Creighton, who's going to play a team that they need a Creighton win on their resume. It's a great time of the year. And again, as we started the show, who would have thought that on this Thursday morning, Matt Rule would make us happier than our basketball?
I know. Yeah, a lot of good stuff yesterday too. But I will say this about Nebraska real quickly too. When you mention Creighton, what they're seeing as far as opponents and teams that are trying to get that Creighton win on their resume, and so you're getting their best effort. I think we all feel good about where Nebraska is, but what's wrong with seeing Nebraska play like that too? Play with that sense of urgency, play like that team that is fighting for their spot, and they're leaving absolutely no doubt. I mean, you probably saw it last night too. Seth Davis is now chiming in on Nebraska, saying how they were getting worked at Northwestern, and they've got a couple of good home wins, but they're 0 for the conference right now. Bringing that up, like there's a tension now that's kind of being brought up to Nebraska when they look like that. I would prefer to see them look like that team that Creighton seems to be facing almost every night in the Big East, a team that has a sense of urgency, a team that's desperate, a team that doesn't feel like they're 100% in on the NCAA tournament, and so they're playing accordingly. Last night was the furthest thing away from that, and I think I expect them Saturday to look like home Nebraska. But now you're getting to that point of you have zero margin for error, considering that if you lose any of those games, how devastating that could absolutely be. I assume they respond well on the road, but they're also going to have some of those quad 3 games on the road as well. How are they going to respond? I mean, you got to get one of those.
Yeah, Nebraska clearly after last night's performance, and remember they were 6.5-point underdog going into that game. They've started to play with some fire. Now you got 4 of the last 7 that are at home. If you are what I think you are, is one of the 32 at large, you prove it over the next 7 games. All right. We will talk more about what happened last night. Omaha basketball. Everybody can love Omaha. Omaha's battling for a chance to be in first place tonight.
Yeah, that unites us.
They take out. Hey, it's Matt Rule and Omaha men's basketball that is uniting blue and red Nebraska today.
Yep.
We will talk about yesterday the clear, direct, and confident head football coach who may have just got in his element and started just to say some things yesterday. In my opinion, Matt Rule spoke about his recruiting class and, among other things, Nebraska had a good day yesterday in football, a really good day in football. That's what makes us happy. That's supposed to make us angry. Nebraska football should make you happy after yesterday. We'll dive into that a little bit later. Sarah Baker Hansen will join the show. Steve Sipple stops in at 8:30. Sip had an interesting tweet about expectations last night. I would hope that you'd get into that discussion with him, Nick. And also Brian Edwards, as we are inching closer to the Super Bowl, which just goes on and on. It's like the longest week in Vegas. Games can't get here soon enough. So we'll do all of that as we roll till 10 on this Thursday morning. Nick and Jimmy are back in studio. I'm in the state of North Dakota for Omaha men's basketball on the weekend. The lineup brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. You probably didn't like the rooferees last night if you were watching the Creighton Providence game. I'm just curious, do people like that style if it's just let them play, or you want everything called? Because it's a little mixture of both.
Yeah,
I'll take the first one.
I'm gonna lean on the side of swallow the whistle unless it starts to get egregious to where the game is getting out of hand. The only thing, because a lot of people talking about the Ashworth 3-pointer that he probably drew some contact, which I do think he did. His defender actually came into him. It wasn't just straight up where Ashworth went into him. That could have been called, but the thing is, it really hadn't been called throughout the game. Like there was an abundance of moments where they probably could have blew the whistle and they didn't. The only thing I didn't like that did go against Creighton, Kalkbrenner made it a little bit easier though. Was that illegal screen? But when you bring the hands up like that, it was almost too obvious. But again, with the flow of the game, are you calling a lot of those contact situations? They weren't. So that was one that was maybe a little inconsistent. But again, when you bring the hands up like you did, and he's obviously a big target, maybe it made that call easy for the official.
Yeah, let's discuss what happened last night. 951-1620, that's the 42 Degree Source hotline. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox where Doug is up and early and he is chiming away at the keyboard. Oh, yeah. He looks like he's working at the airport at Epley. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley, 1620thezone.com.
Also, the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620.
And Nick Handley, 1620.
All right, we'll get to the phones. We'll get to the conversation. Nick, Jimmy, Gary, it's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
Betting on your favorite sporting events just got a whole lot easier. Warhorse Sportsbook is now open in Omaha. Save yourself the drive across the river and put your money where your mouth is at Horseman's Park, 6303 Q Street. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is your home for the big game. Whether it's the NFL or a rivalry on the hardwood, you will find all the action on Oscar's top-of-the-line audio-video system. With 40 TVs and massive dual projectors, the game has never looked better. Pair that with their award-winning char-buffed wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has everything you need. 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Where do my friends and other students find their voice? We find our voice through the performing arts, along with millions of other high school students. By expressing yourself in a role on stage, through an instrument, or at the debate podium, the performing arts give us freedom to find ourselves, to find our place. The stage is where I can play, perform, and compete with my friends.
Performing arts at your school is where creativity meets courage. Encourage the students in your life to find their voice through the performing arts. This message presented by the NFHS, where we encourage all students to play, perform, and compete together.
Hey fans, looking for the best seats without the hidden fees? Then you need to check out Tickets for Less. Whether it's Creighton games, Husker matchups, or big-time concerts and events, they've got you covered, all with no service fees. Now, you ready to score a deal? Use the code THEZONE at ticketsforless.com and save on your next event. You prefer to go mobile? Grab the free Tickets for Less app and shop with ease. Every seat holds a story, so find yours and save when you use the promo code THEZONE at ticketsforless.com and the Tickets for Less app today.
If you're looking for a safe and reliable vehicle to get you through all types of winter weather and more, Baxter Subaru has you covered. Symmetrical all-wheel drive comes standard on nearly all Subaru models and provides you better traction, improved stability, and maximized performance on wet and snowy roads. Subaru's all-wheel drive also enhances off-road capabilities. Get incredible deals and great lease offers today on all our new Subaru models. Or shop anytime at BaxterSubaruOmaha.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, welcome back in a Thursday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jimmy as well. Super Bowl week. A little bit later, Sarah Baker Hansen will join us with the perfect recipe for your Super Bowl party, which I will not be going to. I don't need the chit chat. I just want to watch the game. It's my team. I want to be by myself. Sorry for anybody that has said, "Hey, why don't I come over to your house, or why don't you go to a party, or why don't you go to Pat and Mike's?" I'm like, no, I'm good.
I'm with you. That's how I'd be. Any other team playing, it's a Super Bowl, sure. Like you say, chips and dip game. But when it's your team, it's no different than a regular season game in your routine and the things you do. It's like a big regular season game, except it's a Super Bowl. So you go through your normal routine, and it's a football game. Sunday's a game day for you. It's different.
But you got to eat, right? So.
Oh, I'll be eating.
What do we got?
I've already purchased a cigar. A victory cigar. Yeah.
Oh, someone's cocky.
Wow, that doesn't sound like you.
No. Well, because it's been a tradition. Even in the Super Bowl they lost to the Bucks, I had a cigar ready to be smoked.
I mean, I guess you can always smoke them at another time.
There are different occasions should they arise. Yeah. So you just have one in the bullpen.
When Tay and Travis officially get engaged, you can just save it for that if it doesn't work out on Sunday.
Yeah, I think I might be okay there.
How about when Omaha wins the Summit League tournament?
Oh, I'll be drunk until they announce where Omaha's going on that Sunday. That is no doubt.
You and Frankie with the champagne bottle or whatever.
Well, hey, how about this? So I think we have a caller.
Yes.
So one quick thing. With the Super Bowl being in Vegas, which is still kind of mind-blowing considering how the NFL fought Vegas, but it's here. It's not going anywhere. So they have restrictions on the players going to the casinos, and the both teams are about 25 miles away from the Strip. There are no restrictions once the game is over. Can you imagine what Sunday night into Monday morning is going to be like in Vegas? for the winning team, or heck, even guys off the losing team, because then they're fair game to do whatever in Vegas.
Yeah, who
Drake's on Brock Purdy.
What was it? Chris from Vegas called yesterday.
Yes, he gave us a full breakdown.
Not our Chris, not Chris Boudon, but a different Chris who actually lives in Vegas.
Chris
calls
in
the
Vegas.
show. I think we said, hey, enjoy Monday when you get your city back, and then we realized, wait a minute, you're not quite getting your city back until probably about Tuesday or Wednesday. So for that reason, right there. Yeah, that's when the floodgates open up, especially for the winning team. That's going to be amazing.
All right, let's go to the phones on the 42 Degree Source hotline. You guys will have to help me here.
We got Andrew on with us. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Not much, man. How are you?
Not much. I've got, in the beginning of the year, when we talked about Creighton basketball, we said the important part of the team is going to be that 4 spot.
Yep.
And we are getting nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing out of that. And what was really frustrating last night was when Green came in, he did well. Mm-hmm. And then he just disappeared the second half. I just don't get that. That was mind-boggling to me. I mean, Mac has to, at some point, develop some depth for some of these players, or they're not going to last the whole year.
Nope. Andrew, thanks for the call. You're absolutely right. 2 guys played 45 minutes last night. Kalkbrenner played 42. We touched on in the first segment. Jason Green, who hasn't done much, came in and gave him a nice spark. He was good on the glass. Trout played a little 5. Mason Miller, wasn't there in crunch time. It was Farabello. I don't think that's changing. I mean, this time of the year, your rotation is what it is, and you try and work through it. The Jason Green in the second half, don't you guys think that, outside of Shireman, I think when Creighton ran on the floor for the second half, Shireman was the only guy that came out of the locker room.
Yeah.
He was the only guy that kept him alive at the beginning of the second half. And so it's about trust of, okay, we need the ball to be put in the bucket. Who's going to be that guy? And Mac's trust tree is awful small. Here's the thing about the rotation and how Creighton is kind of in the last month, they've taken on an identity. Did you guys think it would be February 8th? And I would say this, I almost think they need more Stephen Ashworth.
No, and I don't think anybody could disagree at this point too, but you're right. Given where that seemed to be trending, that was going to be the weak link. That was going to be the thing that if Creighton was not able to fulfill expectations, it was trending that, man, he's just not Ryan Nembhard, and that's now showing. And he's not, but you're seeing defensively what he's been able to do, big shots. We were discussing this yesterday. Jimmy and I were about each team. Do you have the guy that in crunch time who is going to take that shot? And Creighton has options. Like, of course, you think of 55. You think of what Trey can do with the ability to drive and get there too. But all of a sudden, Stephen Ashworth is a damn good option. And so that is a positive development. But you're right, what you're getting from that standpoint, but what you're not when it comes to the depth in the 4 position, which I would agree with our last caller, and I know Doug chimed in on this too in his own inbox, is, that area is an issue. And the trust about it is interesting because we didn't see Isaac Trout play in that game against Butler. We talked to Matt DeMarinis about that, and he talked more about maybe the matchup being indicative of that. But then last night, no Freddie King. And remember what we saw from Freddie King against Butler. He had some tough stretches when he was in too. So
yeah,
where are you going right now?
I think you're going with the big 3 are going to have to play 35 plus minutes a night. Now, fortunately for Creighton, they don't foul. So it's not like every night you're navigating through 3 and 4 fouls or 2 early fouls. I think it is what it is. All of a sudden, Fred King isn't going to reinvent himself. Right. Isaac Trout, I'm trying to figure out his role. I think probably the way to, work through this is where is Mason Miller right now? Where is his game at? Because they need him to be a contributor. Because right now, Farabello off the bench is outplaying him, and Farabello's on the floor in crunch time. That's something I also didn't think we'd be saying.
Yeah,
nice contributor, but not the guy when you're headed to overtime or in overtime in Providence, Rhode Island in February that Farabello is one of your main guys on the floor, and he's the guy that's making winning plays.
Well, and this conversation, Gary, even started at the end of last year when we started looking at this team going forward. Okay, what guys likely do you have coming back? And we all knew, even when it was not official yet, that Art Kaluma was not going to be back. And so you started thinking, okay, who's going to fill that void? And you could already look at Creighton's roster and you could point to Mason Miller and say, there's your guy. He's going to be just fine. They'll be fine in that position. They'll be able to get a little bit maybe more reliable three-point shooting from Mason Miller, and that's going to be a boon for them as opposed to sometimes erratic play that you get from Arthur Kaluma. So you would feel Creighton was well equipped to move forward when it did come to Mason Miller. And even at the beginning of the season, you saw a glimpse of it. You saw his value, but all of a sudden that area, I mean, it's been kind of a revolving door to where all you got to know about whether you want to call it max trust tree or just where things have trended with this offense and with this overall roster when it comes to that particular 4 spot is what you just said right there. Who is on the floor in those moments that matter the most, in those high leverage moments? And it hasn't been Mason Miller lately.
All right, a couple of things here from Doug's email. I like Doug. Doug sends us an email, and it's all bullet points. Thank you. One, losses happen. Creighton was outplayed, and the other team made a lot of shots, not easy layups. I've learned to just stay off Twitter after a loss. And Twitter was an angry beast last night.
Angry and a lot of criticism towards the officiating.
Yes, but as I also learned, I was following from afar on Bishop, who just walk away from a troll.
There are other quotes, but the Fremont, Nebraska one, you can't beat that.
Creighton can still make a run in the NCAA, but they have warts. It'll be about, in my opinion, it'll be about matchups. Now remember, they're going through the Big East where these teams know Kalkbrenner, Shireman, Trey Alexander. And credit to Providence. That second half last night, they didn't let Trey get to his spot on the floor. Creighton is no good when Kalk is not on the floor, either King or Trout need to step up big time. We're getting nothing out of Miller. He can't make threes, isn't helping rebounds either. Green has 4 good minutes, then no more. As much as I hate playing against him, Devin Carter is the player of the year in the Big East. Man, he's a dude. Both ends of the floor. Well, he hit 2 key shots. The logo one, which I think you just got really excited there at Nick, and then the one he hit in the corner. But he also made a great defensive play. I mean, he's Mr. Pick Six. He's a dude for them. I mean, they had Bryce Hopkins. I would take Carter over Hopkins in any day that ends in Y, but that was a nice combo. But, man, Devin Carter's trying to will that team into the NCAA tournament. And then Doug finishes with Nebraska was Nebraska, which is true. They were exactly they have the recipe for a road blowout down to a science.
The Devin Carter minutes on a day that we're talking about energy, whether we're talking about more of Nebraska than we were Creighton, but you watch Devin Carter play and the amount of minutes that he's logged, there's no drop off whatsoever. Like that guy is on from the very first whistle to the time that they're actually going to the locker room at the very end of the game. And he hardly ever sits out. His energy, I mean, his ability is one thing. I mean, you watch the range that he has, which is limitless. He goes after rebounds. Defensively, he anticipates. He is so good with his hands. There's so many things to like about Devin Carter, but more than anything, there is absolutely zero drop-off with his energy level to do all of that. Because you're right. He's got that team on his back right now. Oduro gave him a huge boost, obviously, with what he was able to do offensively. But what Devin Carter has done all season long, especially when Hopkins went down, it's unbelievable. Like I can't disagree with Doug on the type of accolades that he should be getting in that conference.
Yeah. So 28, 11, and 6 last night for Carter. The biggest number might be, and this is probably a lot of people that wear blue will not agree with me. The biggest number that Devin Carter had last night, he played 42 of the 45 minutes. He committed 1 foul.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And he's active. It's not like he is he's just a standby type of defensive player or he's just an observer. No, he's extremely active defensively. And I know some people would say, well, yeah, but do you see how they were calling that game last night? Hey, like you said, he's not dumb. Team's not dumb. They know if it's going to be called a certain way, they're going to play to that identity.
Yeah, they let him play. I mean, they stuff that happened in the first half, stuff happened in the second half, and they didn't call it. I can't blame them for that. That ball game is not for everyone. But they established early, we're going to let them play. And that fed right into Providence. They're like, this crowd loves this. They love physical blue-collar basketball. We got the South Providence Mafia that's sitting on the baseline. We're good tonight. We're good. The atmosphere, by the way, is great there. I got to go to a game at Providence. I mean, those people love their basketball, and they get fired up whether Ed Cooley is coaching Georgetown or Creighton is in there. And Creighton has trouble winning in that building. I think a lot of teams have trouble winning in that building because Providence takes on the identity of the crowd. And I think the crowd influences everybody that surrounds the game, the team that Providence is playing, and the three guys that are officiating. And when that happens, Providence, that's their style. And they found a way to win last night. All right, we got an update with Jimmy's coming up here in just a little bit. Nick and I will talk more about Nebraska and Creighton last night again. Omaha, tonight over on 1290 Coil. They're taking on North Dakota. Fighting Hawks have won 6 in a row. They're in first place. Omaha's playing to jump into first place tonight. Also, yesterday was a good football day for Nebraska. They added a 4-star. We got some questions answered, and we got our hands slapped about do not think that Marcus Satterfield is going anywhere in terms of calling plays. Is Marcus Satterfield the Kevin Cosgrove to Matt Rule? Discuss among yourselves during the break.
I hope the result is better than that.
Somebody just got triggered.
Being protected. I get it, though. Being protected like that.
You can get triggered. Just don't climb to the top of the sphere. All right, it's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, and updates coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, that earlier accident on the exit ramp I-80 eastbound to I-480 northbound still being taken care of. Do expect delays if heading into that direction for the time being. And things still a little bit slow. Dodge westbound around 108th up to 120th. Please remember to stay safe, everybody, and wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
It's a celebration of love at Saul's Jewelry and Loan. Now through Valentine's Day, get 50% off a huge selection of jewelry. Diamond rings, 50% off. Gold chains, 50% off. Bracelets, 50% off. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. It's the celebration of love sale at Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers, offers exterior solutions that help you protect your number one investment. Whether it's roofing and siding or windows and doors, they're committed to excellence, quality, and outstanding customer service in every step of the process. When it's time to protect the exterior of your home, your choice is simple. Turn to who the Huskers turn to, J-Tech Construction. Check them out online and schedule a free estimate today. J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers.
The GOAT is coming to Kansas City. Sporting KC will host Inter Miami and Lionel Messi, the greatest of all time, at the loudest stadium in the world. See Johnny Russell, Alan Polito, and the rest of your hometown team take on Messi, Luis Suarez, and more at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium on Saturday, April 13th. It's the soccer capital of America versus the greatest of all time. Get your tickets while you still can at sportingkc.com.
What goes great with football? Rib Shack Down Home Barbecue and Soul Food. Let Miss Jackie cater your next event with slow-cooked St. Louis ribs, wings, beef brisket, and pulled pork. Visit the Rib Shack in Roxbury Plaza at 108th and Q or at ribshacksmokehouse.com.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The NFL action keeps getting better, and DraftKings, the leader in fantasy sports, just dropped a brand new app, Pick Six. Pick Six is the newest way for you to get in on the fantasy football action with DraftKings. New customers can make their first NFL picks and get up to $100 back in Pick Six credits if those picks lose. Getting started is simple. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app and sign up using code 1620. Just pick between 2 and 6 NFL players and choose if they're going to have more or less of a stat. For example, will a player have more or less than 100 rushing yards, or will a player have more than 1 touchdown? Track your lineup and compete against others for a shot at huge cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and sign up with code 1620. New customers can get up to $100 back in Pick Six credits if your first football pick set loses. That's code 1620. Only on DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours. One offer per new customer. First qualifying pick set winnings less entry fees must generate negative number. Max reward up to $100 equal to amount of negative number. Issued in non-withdrawable Pick Six credits valid for Pick Six use only. Expire after 1 year. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Valid only in states where DraftKings Pick Six operates. For up-to-date list of states, please visit dkng.co/pick6states. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
The Supernovas, who have had an interesting week, fall to 1-2 in the Pro Volleyball Federation as the Vegas Thrill post a 5-set victory. They have just over 9,000 fans, though, at the Chives. That's pretty good. Not all was sad for Creighton as Ryan Kalkbrenner is one of 15 men on the watch list for this year's Naismith Trophy Defensive Player of the Year award. He leads the Big East with 2.59 block shots per game, ranks 6th nationally. In league play, he has nearly 3 blocks per game, also ranks 3rd in the Big East in field goal percentage, 5th in rebounds, and 6th in points per game. After the Jays lose to Providence in overtime last night, they're in Cincinnati to face Xavier Saturday morning at 11:30. A lot better. Omaha men's and women's basketball tonight at 7 o'clock against North Dakota. The men are in tropical Grand Forks, near 50 there this morning. The women are in even more tropical Omaha. It's already in the 50s here. They'll both face the Bison, North Dakota State Saturday. Women are here, men are in Fargo. A little more than 6 years after NBA players began wearing sponsored patches on their jerseys, NBA referees will do the same for the first time. Oh, now the money's going to roll in. NBA officials will begin donning shirts with Emirates Airlines patches. I say that right? I don't know. Directly under the NBA logo on the left chest at the All-Star game in a couple of weeks. Officials will continue wearing the patches when the season resumes a few days later. Meanwhile, G League referees, because you are already wanting to know before we start getting emails about what about the G League, they'll begin wearing the patches to start next season, and WNBA officials will start in the league's 2025 season. The ref patches were just a piece of the endorsement rollout for Emirates, based in Dubai, which is a multi-year deal, officially becomes the NBA's global airline. So congratulations to them. They will also sponsor the NBA in-season tournament, which will be rebranded as the Emirates NBA Cup.
Tim Donaghy said this is the way I could have made money back then. Jeez.
He was ahead of his time. He really was. Nick Saban is ready to go back to work. That didn't last long. One of the most accomplished coaches in college football history with a lot of national championships will be joining the ESPN. Sorry. There, he will primarily serve as an analyst on College Game Day and will lend his expertise across ESPN's platform to a variety of events, including the NFL Draft and, of course, SEC Media Days. Finally, the vast majority of players in the NFL Players Union want to play on natural grass fields. This was announced the other day by the executive director of the NFLPA, adding that there is a certain hypocrisy with some NFL stadiums agreeing to adhere to FIFA regulations by installing grass for the upcoming soccer ball matches in the World Cup in a couple of years, but reverting to artificial turf for football games. It's not artificial turf. It's real grass. Artificial turf is, the good stuff that ripped up your arm.
Carpet.
Yeah, he said it's really basic. It's not rocket science. 92% of our union wants grass. they might have been confused as to the type of grass though they want. Anyway, that's compelling. The bottom line is it is unquestionable that our union wants to have a working condition where they play on grass. Hal said data collected by the union showed injuries occurring on a slower rate on natural grass fields as opposed to artificial turf. I wonder what Kyle Shanahan thought of that. Everyone's against it. Bad grass.
Well, it's an issue that, I mean, we're to Thursday with the Super Bowl, and it's still an issue where the Niners are bringing it up. But I think the Niners are fighting for the players. I mean, the players in the Players Association in the NFL, they're going back and forth on this turf versus grass thing, and it's just magnified by whatever the 49ers have been practicing on. That in Super Bowl week, that's really a story. I think they're making it even more of a story because they're on the side of the players going against the NFL, who, is not pro, let's protect the players. Quickly about the World Cup. We didn't talk about this the other day when they announced the schedule. First of all, it's cool for soccer fans that we're going to be close enough to go down to Kansas City because they're going to have 6 matches at Arrowhead. But the championship is at MetLife. We have SoFi and Jerry's World.
Yeah.
MetLife,
better climate.
I've been there. There's nothing special about it. Like you go to SoFi or you go to Jerry's World and you go, whoa. So the world is going to watch us at MetLife.
Yeah.
Money talks. I get it now. I used to fight that. I used to think, no. FIFA is above board. They just make a really cool video game. It's all up and up. Yeah.
Yeah. When that came out the other day, I thought, 90 degrees with 90% humidity. Sounds wonderful for a championship match instead of the AC of Jerry World or the nice climate of Southern California. I mean, Seattle's getting some matches. Joey, shout out Joey, told me this yesterday. The U.S. will be playing their matches in Seattle and at SoFi. Gee, I wonder why. You mean they're not going to play in Miami or outside in the heat and humidity of Kansas City? Like, no, that's they know what they're doing.
Hey, you've already heard, Messi is playing down at Arrowhead with Inter Miami. So you've heard that ad that's been running now for a couple of weeks. I think soccer fan or not, you have to go experience it. And if it's that, if we have the World Cup in a venue that's that close to Omaha, I think you got to make the 3-hour trip, go down. And I don't care who's.
I may never be making it into the stadium. I'm going to, just be around it.
Yeah. You get to go in, you'll watch a little FIFA soccer, and you'll see, the 3 Super Bowl, maybe 4 Super Bowl flags that'll be up above Arrowhead Stadium.
And you are, I know we'll get our predictions tomorrow, but you're beaming with confidence.
He's setting it up to say, you know what? It's Kyle Shanahan's time. The 49ers are going to win by 10 or something like that.
Should be confident. You're back in a very familiar spot.
No. Hey, it's my team. I'm rooting for them. Doesn't mean that I think they're going to win. We'll save that for tomorrow.
Yep.
But I asked people, can you bet against Patrick Mahomes?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
It's hard to say yes. I
mean, this is true. You said it all week. You can't bet against 15. And Madden used to always say the champion's the champion until somebody beats them. So until San Francisco beats them, that's the champion.
Scary Gary on the stream says, time to explain those Super 6 rankings, gentlemen. Mario Buford would like a word. So I am taking it that Schaefer has released the media 24 Husker 24/7 Super 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a little bit ago, about a half hour ago, they went out.
Yeah, I know he was going to do it today. I didn't know it was going to be what time. Usually,
I had this discussion with Schaefer. We have to separate it because you have, some people I know. Some people don't even have Dylan Raiola in their top 2. Hi, Mitch. Some people don't have Carter Nelson. I think I have Carter Nelson at 6. But I think we have to separate it from the portal guys and the high school guys. Because, getting down to a 6 and a sleeper can be a little bit tough. But regardless of what us media honks know and don't know, hey, so one other quick thing here before I talk about the recruiting class that is now finalized is Schaefer gave us all a deadline before Wilhite committed.
Yes. So I did not have him in mind.
I would probably have Keona Wilhite in my Super 6. So that's, if he doesn't show up in people's Super 6, it's not that we don't like him. It's, some of us had to get it in before Will Height officially committed yesterday. But think about this for a moment about Rule and his little time with the media yesterday. And again, he's clear, he's confident, he's concise when he talks. He feels the room. Like I know you guys saw him when he was at the Jet Award. I've seen him speak at a couple other different places. Like if the room is popping, like there's a good vibe, Matt Rule will go on like a riff. Okay. He's the pastor's son. He did that yesterday. Yeah. I laughed out loud. I LOL'd myself when he talked about the 85 scholarships and being stopped on the street.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. I know you do listen to this show. I have said, don't worry about the 85. They'll be fine. They'll get to it. They won't violate any rules. But do we really believe that Matt Rule was stopped on the street, that he was asked about this? I know that the fan base can be a little bit over the top, but I don't think when Matt Rule is sitting, he's sitting in Havelock having a pizza, that somebody goes, Matt, I got you at 105. What are you going to do with those 20? I don't think that. So he got rolling.
There he is. Go ask him.
And I also think the part about Brock Purdy, he maybe played into the room and started to talk it up. But whether he does that or not, and he's good in those settings, and he gave us some really good information yesterday, you got to give it up. So this is a sign, and this is for a team that's 5-7. I'm glad he said, hey, we're 5-7 until we play Utah. Is his first full recruiting class, his first one that he got his hands on, every single prospect. Man, for Nebraska to be about third or fourth in the Big Ten, that could be scary because they recruited really well, and they're not a flashy recruiting unit. They have an identity. They go after that identity. Yeah, you're helped by a 5-star quarterback and 9 4-stars. But for their first full year of recruiting, man, they did some work to put together this recruiting class, to have that ranking coming off a 5-7 season when essentially you're still newbies, you and your staff. So kudos to them. That's a good start for a team that hasn't been to a bowl game in 7 years, and you're 5-7 in your first year.
So I brought this up yesterday. I think we've had this conversation a little bit about the narrative about recruiting, especially when it comes to Nebraska, given some of the seasons here as of late, where people will, you see a 5-star like Dylan Riley, you get really excited. You see them addressing needs. You see them trying to, again, be able to put them in a position to where they get old, stay old, as you like to say. And they did all that. I mean, they checked so many boxes in this one, and there's still always going to be that, I think, that section of fans, which I totally understand, that's going to say, okay, that's cool, but let me know how this is all working out once we get to September. And I get that too. I absolutely do. But what I also think that you saw even momentarily last year, not even momentarily, but in certain areas last year, is some of those true freshmen that came in under this staff already begin the stages of development to where you can start to forecast what could be a very promising future for those players. Once you get to the point, and I think this is what this class represents to me more than anything, is that you have a lot of guys that, like other recruiting classes, come in with ability, but you also now have a coaching staff that has that reputation, but already showed a little bit of it last year of being able to develop both your high-end guys and then your, what if you want to call them the project type guys that maybe don't have the 3 or 4 stars, but guys that look like they could be sort of positionless. You can plug them in different areas. You start developing those guys, and all of a sudden you have not only the ability of what this coaching staff can do from a recruiting standpoint, but then they show that reputation of development where all of a sudden when people see a Dylan Raiola, people see a Ja'Cory Barney, and you're thinking, man, I hope he works out. You're all of a sudden now you're in the mindset of, cannot wait to see what this guy can do, because we got a coaching staff that actually develops that type of talent.
Yeah, they got some traction to be able to put together a class like this in your first full recruiting class when you were 5-7 and really didn't have a cornerstone to recruit off of. I think is promising in the future. A little bit of why they were able to secure Will Height, and thank you to UCLA. Everybody should be sending a thank you card to UCLA, which is in limbo, and it's bull. It is bull crap in Westwood those kids are in limbo with their head coach, who today might be named the OC at Ohio State. They're in limbo. And that program then will open a 30-day window for the portal. There's some pretty good players at UCLA. Okay. That's BS what Chip Kelly is doing. UCLA should cut ties now and say, get out. We don't need you. Go to Ohio State. Be the OC. You're screwing with our program right now. But with that said, thank you to Chip Kelly. He helped Nebraska. Now, another part of the recruiting of Wilhite and kind of this recruiting and moving forward with the 24 roster is stability was a big thing in this recruiting. That after the first year, Rule didn't blow up his coaching staff and go, that guy can't make it in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Because Frost actually probably should have done that after his first year when he realized some guys are not equipped to be in the Big Ten. He held on too long. It affected him. Rule looked at his staff and said, you know what? I think we're okay. Kept them together. His biggest win of the offseason is keeping Tony White. Tony White stayed. Tony White and Terrence Knighton did a great job with Wilhite. They're a fantastic combo. I said this the other day because Tony White is a huge, huge part of Keona Wilhite committing to Nebraska because Tony White is very concise. He sells his message, and he's going to be a beast recruiting as a head coach next year or the following year. But if you have the White-Knighton combo that work well together because they're speaking the same language, you got Wilhite. Now go get me Christian Jones at Westside, and we're cooking with some peanut oil. But I think stability through the whole process of recruiting, the only hiccup you had was at tight end, where you had a guy that was on your staff because he could recruit high school guys in Texas. You didn't really miss a beat there. But this staff, to put together that recruiting class, that's a lot of traction moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of the exciting thing about yesterday. I don't know about you, Gary, because you've covered a lot of these too. It just felt a little bit different. I mean, yesterday, and I mean, even going back to December, obviously with the Dylan Raiola part of that feeling, obviously had a different feel than years past. But it's one thing to grab a couple of, to get a 5-star and some 4 stars and complimentary guys, and then to really have the success they had in state-wise. But I also think that you take a hard look at each position coach. You take a hard look at a lot of these players that you hope can impact by as early as their redshirt freshman year. And some of these guys are going to be having the opportunity to do it even before that you feel confident with, I would say, the majority of those position coaches. I was talking to Shafe about this yesterday. One of the obvious big developments in the spring now is going to be to start seeing that relationship between Glenn Thomas and his quarterbacks, mainly Glenn Thomas and Dylan Raiola especially. But there's a lot of, I think, that hope because you could look at last year. Now, Terrence brings this up in the stream, which I think is true when it comes to the development of what you saw some of those freshmen go through last year because there were injuries that allowed them to play. And that's true. I mean, sometimes it is all about the opportunity. And sometimes those guys, when they first get that first shot, especially some of those wide receivers, which I'm assuming is what Terrence is probably talking about more than anything, it might be a little bit more slow going, but this is the thing where it's not just the game reps. The game reps are big, but it's, okay, you take that first game, you're able to break it down with your position coach, you're able to break it down with your coordinator, and then you're able to apply the good and the bad, and you go forward to the next game. By the time of the end of the year, if you look at guys like Jalen Lloyd, if you look at guys like Malachi Coleman, far better than where they were when they first set foot on the field. Game reps helped, yes, but the ability to process everything that they were experiencing, both good and bad in the game, and then being able to apply that, to me, that's part of the development. Then you look on the defensive side of it. Cam Lenhart was always going to play. Didn't matter if there was going to be injuries or not. He was always going to play. Princewell was always going to play. And you look at those guys from the time that they started to the time that they got to the end of the season, despite even, being banged up a little bit. Those guys got better. So you're looking at freshmen not only being developed behind the scenes, getting the game reps, getting the opportunities, but being able to take those experiences in a game and getting better. And a lot of those high-end recruits that we were wondering if they would even get a shot to really impact the team beyond 4 games. You had a handful of guys that were able to do that. So I just think that, to me, that's why yesterday felt different, because you already saw a small sample size, but a sample size indeed, of those young players being developed to the point that they were impacting football games.
Well, I think a part of yesterday, and in addition, like Wilhite late, and he's going to make an impact. I love his length. I think he's a guy that has a knack for the football. He played in a really good high school football program against really good talent. He looks like a Big Ten defensive end. Is the thing about when you're at a Fortune 500 company like Nebraska football is, Fortune 500 companies, they don't turn the lights off. They don't say, hey, we only work 9 to 5. And at 5:15, everybody's out of the building and the lights are off. Yesterday showed that you're never closed for business. A guy falls into your lap. Yeah, we'll make room for him. We'll figure it out on the back end. Don't worry about us. Our job is, if I'm a builder, is to build the best football program possible with the best amount of talent. And I don't care when it comes. If it shows up on my doorstep in May, or if it comes to me in January, I'm always open for business. And I think there have been times through the recruiting process with a couple of different staffs where they reached the finish line and they were like, whew, we're done. That's our roster. I think Rule realizes that, especially in this conference, you're never done. You're never done in churning your roster, whether it making the guys better or making the roster and your program as a better. And that's something you always got to be recruiting. You always got to be looking out for what can make your program better. And, you can never become complacent. This league isn't going to allow you to do that. And that was a little sign yesterday that Nebraska, if they want a guy, they'll make room for a guy. And it's not just Wilhite. They added Prescott. They added a couple of walk-ons that I think down the road could possibly work themselves into a scholarship. So you're always open for business. I mean, they never turn on the no vacancy light.
Right.
And
you know what?
That's important today because everybody is looking 24/7, 365. Everybody is looking at a situation that might be better than yours, and they're looking at your program to see who you played and who you took.
And if you're not open to that, Gary, then you're not doing your job as a coach in this day and age of college football. If you want to be,
well, it's not for everyone though, Nick.
It's not. You're right.
Because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm always going. I'm always going.
Sure.
I'm always going. Well, that's what you are in Nebraska. You can't take any days off at Nebraska and expect to be successful.
Exactly. And that's the part. If you want to be as competitive I like how he used this yesterday too, organization, not program, organization. If you want to be as competitive as you possibly can, be able to stack up as many wins, you have to have that mindset. And the one thing that I think we've all learned from Matt Rule now, when it comes to now a full year of both seeing recruiting, seeing preseason, seeing a season, and now into the postseason / preseason, is he's extremely high on competition, but he's also very loyal to the people who commit early on to this program. And when I say that, I mean the freshmen, the high school part of the recruiting side of it.
Yeah.
What he said yesterday, I think, was walking the perfect line of we are always looking to upgrade our roster, which translation to me is we are always looking to put the highest competition in every position battle that we can possibly pull off. But also when he talked about, when it got brought up to the guys that'll be here for maybe a year or two, that it has to be a special situation, that it's not ideal for them. It's not ideal for him, but he's never going to completely turn that away. What you're sending the message to, we want you to be in our program with at least 2 or 3 years ahead of you so we can have you here for years to come. We're going to get the best out of you. You're going to get the best out of us. So that is as to reward those guys. I like what he had to say when you've got a guy who's been here for 2 years. He gets to his 3rd year, and it's finally his time to impact the team. And then all of a sudden we bring in a one-and-done type guy in that same position. Yep. That, I think, was an important message too, is we don't want to do that. If we have to, we will from a competition standpoint. But ideally, we want these guys 3 or 4 years and get that development to by the time they're year 2 or year 3, they are impacting that team. I think that was an important message yesterday.
A little bit later, Steve Sipple will join us in about an hour. And we'll get to his read on yesterday and also some comments about Glenn Thomas. Don't you go anywhere near Saturday calling plays, Glenn Thomas. Don't you? Because you would ruin with our angst on Satterfield.
He's the OC collaborator.
3 times in 12 games last year. They only scored 20 or more. Welcome back. All right. Also, Sarah Baker Hansen at the top of the hour. Brian Edwards as well with his favorite props for the Super Bowl, which comes your way on Sunday right here on the Zone. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Speaking of the Super Bowl, happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Now, if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about cheering for the Chiefs, being by yourself so you have the couch to yourself but you grab your favorite snacks. You might want some chili, maybe you go some barbecue, whatever. And let's place some bets with America's #1 sportsbook. Nick, we have the app FanDuel. What bets do you like for this upcoming Sunday?
I'll tell you what, I'd like the Travis Kelce anytime touchdown plus 100, and then looking on the side of the Niners, plus 140 anytime score for Deebo Samuel. But that's not the only way you can get involved. Of course, the Niners are a 2.5-point favorite. That line hasn't moved, but you can a variety of ways to get a W or 2 or 3. Players will score a touchdown. How many points will be scored? Much more. New customers, join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com. Use the promo code ZONE to sign up. It's FanDuel.com/zone. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
An attorney over in Iowa named Van Plum is now requesting the state of Iowa. Okay, I shouldn't. See, here's a serious story, and you guys are hung up on Van Plum.
That's a character in the board game Clue. Van Plum did it in the office with a club stick.
What's a club stick?
I don't know. I couldn't think of anything.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from a Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A breezy and mild day ahead for Thursday. Expect sunshine in the morning with more clouds in the afternoon as a cold front passes through. Highs will top out in the mid-50s around midday, then slide into the 40s by the evening. Still can't rule out a stray shower between noon and 4 p.m. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, that earlier accident I-80 eastbound to the I-480 northbound exit ramp has been cleared out. Shouldn't see any more delays there currently. And that heavier traffic dodge westbound around 108th has thinned out as well. No other accidents or slow-moving traffic to report as we move along in this Thursday morning. Just remember to stay safe and wear those seatbelts, everybody. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Zoom Drain.
Dealing with any type of plumbing issue can be overwhelming, especially if it's related to your drain or sewer lines. Thankfully, Zoom Drain specializes in drain and sewer services of all scopes. Contact Zoom Drain anytime by logging on to zoomdrain.com.
Like eating out? Like saving money? Then get to Cobb's at 180th and Center, Shadow Lake Town Center, or 72nd and Jones for their daily specials. Tuesday is $3 off all burgers and sandwiches. Wednesday, buy any specialty pizza and get a one-topping 50% off. Then Thursday, all wings are $1 each when you order 10. And this just in, all Cobb's locations now offer their own delivery service. Click CobbsPizza.com to see the menu. Cobb's. Pizza, and so much more.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
When Cynthia came to TurboTax, she just launched her new side gig, a true crime podcast.
I'm a first-rate detective with a golden voice.
As her TurboTax expert, I made her second income count by guaranteeing 100% accurate filing and her maximum refund.
What did she do with that refund? Find out next week.
Switch to Intuit TurboTax and make your moves count. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams, too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, welcome back in. Split show. I am in the state of North Dakota. Jimmy and Nick are back in the studio in Omaha, beautifully located at 50th and Capitol. Super Bowl comes your way on Sunday. Brian Edwards got his favorite prop bets. That's coming up at about 9:45. In our brief time together tomorrow, we'll dive into the Super Bowl with picks and what's going to happen in that game between the Chiefs and the 49ers. Last night, both Nebraska and Creighton lose. How did the Creighton-Providence game end up on FS2?
I don't know. That reeks of Creighton DePaul, whether we're CBS Sports or Creighton. I thought that would be a Creighton DePaul game. And yeah, the Dave Sims, Donnie Marshall combo was.
Hold on. I'm drinking coffee, which, by the way, the hotel room coffee isn't bad here. But I think Donnie Marshall just mentioned UConn, so let me drink as you continue your thought, Nick.
Yeah, there you go. Just make sure you keep it flowing there. Now, what was awesome last night, and I'm sure other people had a chance to do this, is on multi-view YouTube TV, you could have the Nebraska and the Creighton game side to side. So I then eventually went over to the audio of the Nebraska Northwestern game. But to have the split screens right there, that was a nice little added bonus from that. But yeah, I have no idea, because I remember when we were looking at the games in the schedule yesterday, knowing that Nebraska was on BTN and then you had the earlier game was going to be Wisconsin, Michigan, because Jimmy was bitching about it being a late game, as Jimmy tends to do.
But I stayed up and watched it.
I know, good on you, man. And then I looked at the Creighton game and I'm like, oh, and that one will be on FS2. And I almost had to give that a double take. Like, wait a minute.
I did too.
What, are they just going to stream the game too, or what? But yeah,
calling it remotely.
Yeah, that if it's not DePaul, what the hell are you on FS2? I don't get that.
That's a pretty good stick there.
It's if you are a Mariners fan and a Creighton basketball fan, you were kind of mixed last night. You love Dave Sims when he's doing the Mariners in the summer. A lot of people didn't like Dave Sims and Donnie Marshall last night. I mean, it was just let's just say it was a bad night of viewing for basketball because you didn't like the FS2 crew, and Bardo was doing the Nebraska game. And Bardo, in the Nebraska fan base, in terms of commentators on the Big Ten, is even despite his love for Isaiah Roby, is not near the top. That was just a bad night overall.
Well, yeah, because you had Kugler and Hummel doing. You had Kugler and Robbie Hummel doing the Wisconsin-Michigan game. So
yeah, see, and if you want an upset, you send Kugler courtside.
That's true.
Unfortunately for Nebraska, as a 6.5-point dog last night, he didn't show up in Evanston after he got done in Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm. And the game wasn't on the cock last night either. So there was that element. I mean, there were a lot of signs pointing to this was not going to go well for Nebraska.
You cut out there. What did you say you got on the what?
I said the game wasn't on the cock last night. Come on.
Excuse me.
All signs pointing to I should not have taken the bait on taking Nebraska to win that game, because all signs pointed to Nebraska was going to lose.
Valentine's Day's next week, Nick.
Do what you will with that. Grab your jammies. I miss those spots.
Oh, yeah. The Pajamagram.
Yeah, we did the Pajamagram, and the people that ran Pajamagram were not very happy with our embellishment of what you could do with the jammies.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And so our endorsement lasted like a week. They're like, that's highly inappropriate what you're saying.
Did you say their copy was highly inappropriate? It was only natural to do that, because I remember having to read for them before as well. I'm like, wait, am I supposed to say this? No. Then you figure, well, if this is their copy, then all bets are off. Let's have fun with this.
A couple emails here. This is from Terry in the Equitable Bank inbox. Hi, guys. Hi, Terry. You just mentioned UCLA should cut ties with Chip Kelly. So Ryan Day's not going to call plays at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Man, is the best thing that happened to Ryan Day Michigan won a national title? Because Ohio State is just accumulating talent for 24 and 25. So Ryan Day is not going to call plays. Right. Bill O'Brien is up in the air. Chip Kelly is being mentioned as the new OC at Ohio State, which be very, very afraid. Chip Kelly can design plays, and then you give him that kind of talent. Chip Kelly at Ohio State is scary for the rest of the Big Ten. But Terry adds this, and this is a good point that I guess it makes sense, but I hadn't really thought about it because I'm all in on Chip Kelly is screwing over the players that are left at UCLA. Is what if a doomsday scenario happens where UCLA does and then comes after Tony White as a head coach?
I wonder. It crossed my mind, but
yeah. I mean, his stock is through the roof right now too. Eesh.
What would Keona
Carroll's hoping for a job.
What would Keona Wilhite do?
I know.
I mean,
poor guy.
Drive there.
I will say this. I think even though I know what UCLA means to Tony White, we might be.
I'm a timing's everything guy.
I want to say it's February 8th. You never say never. I think you would be like, man, I'm riding and dying with the guys here. I don't know what they would do. They would have to have their AD has to have in mind somebody right now to make the pivot because the window opens for 30 days, which is just. And there's some dudes at UCLA. Man, Deion Sanders will be pulling up, and he'll be pulling up to Westwood, and so will a lot of other coaches if that happens.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of smoke with Chip Kelly to Ohio State, which, man, Chip Kelly designing plays with Will Howard at quarterback and that talent with Henderson in the backfield and those wide receivers. Whoa, watch out. Bob writes in, did you guys see Ed Cooley had a little bit of a moment last night?
Apparently he's well paid.
Yeah, so a student said to Cooley, that's $7 million per win. Cooley walked over and said, you know what? I'm rich as an MFer. I'm rich as blank. Jerry Carino, who covers Seton Hall and the Big East, said, I swear that just happened.
Flex on him, Ed.
Wow.
Also, you're picking up.
Ed is Ed trying to play the a little bit more of the villain role now that he's at Georgetown? Is there a little bit more of a villain-esque to Ed? Or is he just tired of the criticism?
I think he's tired.
Well, he's never kind of lost like this before. So, he gets squeezed a little bit. I think he's gonna be fine at Georgetown. But he is, because of the leaving Providence to Georgetown, he's like fair game for everybody in the Big East.
Apparently, yeah.
And as we said, there are no boundaries.
Nope.
No.
I don't think you're going to just because Creighton. I don't think Creighton fans are going to give Ed that much grief, though. Especially when they're taking the cues from Mac. Mac loves Ed. I don't think the Creighton fans are going to give him that. That's just my read on it. Do they care that much about Ed? I mean, I shouldn't say do they care, but do Creighton fans feel like they got to weigh in on this war? Like they were?
No, I mean, because Mac and Ed Cooley have a great relationship,
right?
So it also, we're not living on the East Coast, okay? We're not around Providence people. We're not around Georgetown people. So it doesn't resonate here like it does on the East Coast, where again, Providence is a good mafia town, man. I wouldn't mess with anybody at Providence.
So you brought that up earlier.
Devin Carter, bad man. City of Providence, not built for everybody.
I'm just wondering if, like, the official on the Ashworth 3, if he was getting ready to even bring the whistle near his mouth, that he looked over and saw like Two Finger Jack giving him this sign of
put a lid on it.
And then that whistle completely went back down. That it was not going to happen.
Yeah,
so
I'm not going to
all over the arena.
I'm not going to pull a Bishop here, so I'm not going to respond to that.
Touche.
Bellevue West Joey chimes into the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally. When you mentioned Matt Rule this morning, it reminded me to ask, what the hell is up with Scott Shanley still throwing shade at Rule? So Scott Shanley hasn't been on our show for now well over a year. He completely ghosted us.
Yeah, we're very happy that he was communicating on Twitter, because for a while, remember, he went on a vacation and
he went to Hawaii.
Yeah,
we were talking to you when we get back.
We were curious if he ever came back.
Well, I mean,
Scott last night quote tweeted Nick down at 93.7 The Ticket was at the press conference yesterday, and when Rule started talking about Brock Purdy, that he brought him up at the Panthers draft and he got vetoed on that.
Yeah.
Part of me was like, that's the pastor's kid that's got on a riff now, and he's just kind of, we're free flowing, and who knows.
Yeah.
But Scott quote tweeted it last night with a laughing emoji, MR excuse maker. Who made him sign Bridgewater, trade for Darnold, trade for Mayfield, draft Matt Corral, and use every pick on defense? This guy is something else, never his fault. Oh, yeah, and fired Joe Brady on a bye week. Same coach saved the Bills' offensive season as an OC. The NFL experience was an abject failure.
Yeah.
The Nebraska experience is a lot better. Let's just put it that way. But they're never going to break bread, even though his brother Andrew has had a lot of contact with Nebraska coaches, and as like a good resource in the Houston area. I don't know. I'm not going to get caught up into it. That's something that is the past, and it won't change. It won't change whatsoever. One more email here, and then we got to take a quick break. This is from John Nick. I know that because Rule and Satterfield screwed up thinking Sims could be fixed, and there are no other quarterbacks on the team that were any better, the offense had to be changed, but Rule better have a short lease on Satterfield. Ooh. He gets very defensive when people want to talk about Satterfield.
Yep.
I mean, that's he bristled up yesterday. He can't be allowed to call bad games, and the true freshman quarterback needs to be put into plays that are going to succeed, not plays that Satterfield just wants to call.
Well, and this is where, okay, do you trust what Matt Rule said yesterday? And this goes back to, okay, where are you at with Matt Rule when it comes to giving you full disclosure on everything that they're going to try to do offensively when it comes to communication? And that is, do you truly have now as an assistant offensive coordinator or a co-offensive coordinator or collaborator, if you will, in Glenn Thomas? Will Glenn Thomas be sort of the missing part of that? Will Marcus Satterfield working with the tight ends, will that give him better perspective? Matt Rule gave examples of when all of those guys were working together and how it did work, and they stacked up a lot of wins. He made sure he made reference to that, but I do think the fact that Glenn Thomas is in that room and they are, again, quote, collaborating, I think is the part of that conversation that you just have to take Matt Rule's word on it, that if you'll see improvement when it comes to, I think the most important thing that was brought up just there, that is having your freshman quarterback in a position to succeed. And are you designing an offense? Are you developing a guy, but are you designing an offense that is going to best fit that to where he's able to come along? That's the biggest part of it.
Satterfield needs consistent quarterback play, a consistent run game, and a defense that gives you extra possessions by forcing turnovers. There's more to there's more to that relationship that was discussed yesterday that we will dive into. Quick break. We'll come back with more. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, your offense may not be so good as a man right now. Maybe when it's third and short, all of a sudden you turn it into a third and long because you don't know how to complete the task. But you know who does? Mentality. You know what? Go to lowtusa.com to find out how Mentality can help all of us men who got that low libido, your disinterested spouse or partner, which they can lead to relationship problems. Yeah, when it's third down and 1, you want everybody to be on the same page. You need 11 to be going. Well, in this case, you need 2 to be going, but most importantly, yourself. And that's where Mentality comes in to take care of you. With their board-certified physicians, they provide a complete physical exam, consultation, complete blood panel, and results on your very first visit. So you want to be able to be the best for your family, convert those third and shorts. You want to have energy for your kids to do everything that they want to do. You want to have a better attitude. You just want to be the very best. That's where Mentality comes in because they don't want you to be, they want you to be at the top of your game. For more information on how Mentality can help you, go to their website right now, lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com. Don't let age be an excuse to settle for second.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Put your coffee department in good hands with Host Coffee Service, providing direct delivery and loaned coffee equipment with service programs. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
You can find pizza anywhere. But when you want pizza pie, piled high with more toppings, That's when you come to my place, Godfather's Pizza. For limited time, get your hands on 2 of my large one-topping pizzas. Pick pepperoni, beef, black olives, you choose. All this food for only $30. Feed your whole mob without breaking the bank. Hey, it's an offer you can't refuse. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
At Granger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're looking for a safe and reliable vehicle to get you through all types of winter weather and more, Baxter Subaru has you covered. Symmetrical all-wheel drive comes standard on nearly all Subaru models and provides you better traction, improved stability, and maximized performance on wet and snowy roads. Subaru's all-wheel drive also enhances off-road capabilities. Get incredible deals and great lease offers today on all our new Subaru models. Or shop anytime at BaxterSubaruOmaha.com.
Hear that? It's the gentle sound of a waterfall on your hike. And if you were here, you'd take a deep breath of fresh air if you weren't so winded. But you're not here, because your self-care happens out on the road, riding your motorcycle protected by Progressive. And the bugs you wipe from your headlights are all the nature you need. So if you ride, see if you could save with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Get an online quote in as little as 3 minutes, all from the great indoors. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
No big game celebration is complete without a game of squares. Circus Sports now offers Circus Squares bets. Everyone who has played squares knows the pain of pulling terrible numbers. With Circus Squares, instead of randomly pulling numbers, choose your square and choose which numbers you get. With a minimum bet of $1 and a maximum payout of $100,000, it's easier than ever. Download the Circus Sports app and place your Circus Squares bets anywhere in Iowa. For more information, visit circusports.com. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-238-7633.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
If you're having problems in the bedroom, talking about it is the last thing you want to do. Same goes for hair loss, anxiety, or even depression. That's where HIMS comes in. Through HIMS, you don't have to talk about it. You can do something about it. Just go to hims.com/start, where you can find a variety of potential solutions for the problems men face every day and save up to 95% on generic alternatives. The entire process is 100% online, making it incredibly simple, straightforward, and above all, private. If prescribed, treatments made using clinically proven ingredients are shipped directly to your door in low-key packaging. So if you're experiencing ED, hair loss, anxiety, or problems with your general health, you don't have to go to the doctor, the pharmacy, or spend all day talking about it. Just go to hims.com/start and do something about it. Get started today at hims.com/start. That's HIMS.com/START.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
As fellow golfers, Nick, did you see who was playing at the Waste Management yesterday during his retirement?
Yeah, Nick Saban.
Yeah, he looked really, really comfortable out there.
The weather didn't look comfortable, but he did.
Yeah, you know what? The weather hasn't been great in Vegas. Like, it has rained. Yeah. It looks cold there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have this.
Like 60s, I think is the high for the entire tournament.
They should have had the Super Bowl in Omaha. Weather has been great in Omaha.
I know.
NHL
fantastic. It's we're gonna get a hockey team. We'll get a Super Bowl here too. Maybe the
A's can move here.
We could get a PGA event around this time of the year as well.
And we got a streetcar.
That we do. Hey, by the way, thanks for the invite. We would Jimmy and I are think we can make it there in a half hour?
Yeah.
I can wear shorts up there. I'm wearing shorts right now. Why not?
Jimmy is wearing shorts right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Tonight's a big game for Omaha. Let's just put it that way. But it was also announced yesterday, not a surprise, that Saban is going to join game day. 6 guys on that set because Corso isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
6 guys is way too much. Have we not learned our lesson with the NFL pregame shows that have expanded I mean, every time I watch the Fox pregame show, and I don't watch the NFL pregame shows as religiously as I used to, but I'll tune in like at 11:55 right before the Fox noon kickoff, and there's like 7 guys.
Yeah.
Have we less is more on these sets?
Yeah,
but
I agree.
But game day just keeps adding. They're gonna have 6 guys.
I was convinced that yesterday's announcement would be followed with a farewell to Lee Corso. And it was immediately followed up with, no, we have confirmed Lee Corso will be back.
He's running it
This
back.
has got to be the last year of Lee Corso. I cannot imagine.
Right?
Yes. Lee Corso in that capacity, this has got to be it, especially if you're bringing in Nick Saban. And I get the Nick Saban, Pat McAfee relationship. They've long established that on his show. So there's continuity there, and there's a little back and forth there. I think Herb Street is kind of getting used. He's a regular guest on McAfee's show too. So like I get the overall dynamic, but I just feel like Lee Corso is now officially the odd man out. He already kind of was, just with the abilities that are not there anymore. But I thought that this might be accompanied by an announcement of the Lee Corso retirement.
Yeah, and maybe he doesn't want to have it before the season, but it'll probably feel like a retirement tour.
Yeah.
I think Saban. I'm not surprised Saban's on game day, but are they going to use him as a prop? Because I think Saban would be better to ESPN. I love that he's going to be involved in the NFL draft. I think Saban would be better as a game analyst than as a character on a 3-hour pregame show.
And that's what you are on that show. I mean, that's all it is anymore. You're a character.
Oh.
So I would agree that if you have
more
a guy
people,
that has
more people watch the games than they do the pregame show.
Yes, they do. And you have a football mind like that, especially a guy who, by all indications, is not afraid to kind of let it fly and tell you exactly what he's thinking and what he's seen. I think that would be more valuable in a booth than it would be on that set where, you're all you are as a character. Nobody's taking real substance of what is actually being talked about unless something is said that pisses people off.
Yep. All right, Sarah Baker Hansen is coming up next. Steve Sipple in the next hour as well. Brian Edwards. Join me tonight over on News Talk 1290 Coil for Omaha, North Dakota. Huge game in Grand Forks for Omaha men's basketball as they try and get into first place in the Summit League. And then tomorrow I'll be back at the beginning of the show, and we'll talk about the Super Bowl picks. Nick and Jimmy the rest of the way. Still a lot more to discuss from last night in Providence, Rhode Island, and Evanston, Illinois, and also what Matt Rule said. That's all still to come in the second half of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, you want to go to the biggest games, whether it be last minute, let's go to the Super Bowl. Tickets for Less is the place for you. They've got Super Bowl tickets. They've also got tickets. I was looking today. They still got tickets to the Iowa-Nebraska women's game coming up on Sunday when Caitlin Clark is going to try and set the all-time women's scoring record. Also, seats available for that huge Creighton-UConn game that's coming up here in a week or so downtown. The best events, sporting, and shows can be found at ticketsforless.com and that Tickets for Less app. Even more so, with ticketsforless.com, you never have to worry about, oh my gosh, what is that checkout? I've got $25 service fee. Transparent pricing, no per ticket fees when you check out. And even better, when you check out and use my promo code THEZONE, it's additional savings. So do it today. Go to ticketsforless.com or download that Tickets for Less app. And don't forget to use the promo code THEZONE.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time Saving Traffic Center, an accident reported on the JFK northbound off-ramp to Cornhusker. This has the right shoulder affected currently. Expect delays in this area for a little while. No other accidents or slow-moving traffic currently, but it will probably pick up here pretty soon as more commuters head out. Just remember to please stay safe and wear those seatbelts, everybody. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
There's a lot more to love for a lot less at Saul's Jewelry and Loan. Now through Valentine's Day, get 50% off a huge selection of jewelry. Heart-shaped jewelry, gemstones, everything you need to show your love. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. It's the Celebration of Love sale with 50% off jewelry at Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, with an auto warranty about to expire, or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-736-2098 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-736-2098. That's 800-736-2098. What do you have to lose? Call 800-736-2098. Again, 800-736-2098.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
Hey everyone, Josh and John here for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Last year at the Super Bowl, Rob Gronkowski went wide left on FanDuel's Kick of Destiny. And John, he is back for Kick of Destiny 2. You can play along. All you have to do is choose if he will make or miss and get your free pick in right now, because if you are correct, you will win a share of $10 million in bonus bets. $10 million in bonus bets. What an incredible deal.
Yeah, and whether your team make or team miss, just go to that FanDuel Sportsbook app, get that free pick in today. Yes, it is absolutely free. And then make sure you turn into the Super Bowl broadcast to see Gronk's Kick live. And if you're right, you'll win a share of $10 million in bonus bets. FanDuel.com/1620. Sign up today. 21 plus in present in Iowa. No purchase necessary. $10 million prize pool to be split equally among all eligible participants who made the correct pick. Prize issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
You know, it just worked out in our schedule this week that we were able to talk with Sarah Baker Hansen, Omaha food critic. You hear on her show every other week, the Thursday before the Super Bowl, and we think of all kinds, like a smorgasbord of food on Sunday, as we welcome in Sarah Baker Hansen. Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
Good. And we got some reviews that I want to get to as well, because one place I've been to, another place that I haven't yet, but I'm also curious. But I'm assuming, just like when it comes to the holidays, anytime you're a food critic, I'm sure a lot of people, when you look at holidays or even something like this with the Super Bowl on Sunday, people want to know, like, okay, what are you going to be indulging yourself in when it comes to a day that is not only the football celebrated, but every type of food we can think of is celebrated as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, secondary food holiday, Thanksgiving, maybe?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I really like making Super Bowl Sunday snacks, and I do it almost every year, various stuff. Let's see, queso is one of my favorites to make, but I don't just like warm up the queso, actually like make the queso from real cheese versus like a jar.
Okay.
Which, if you have a crock pot, or if you have like a little hot plate, you can like keep it warm. It's always a big hit. I've done buffalo wings before. I have made homemade pizza. It depends on how many people are going to be around. I don't think we're going to a Super Bowl gathering, at least that I know of so far. So the menu is to be determined, but I will definitely be making some snacks. You can count on that.
All right. I do want to get to two of the most recent reviews since the last time we talked to you. And I want to start in downtown. And of course, you're very familiar with the area. You're a resident down there. And Tupelo Honey, we heard a lot about for months. They opened, and getting a little bit of an idea of what to enjoy. Now, for me personally, especially with Fat Tuesday coming up, I'm a big Herb Saint fan. Mouth of the South, I really like as well. So anytime you're going to throw sort of a Southern type style restaurant, I'm going to be interested. I'll admit I haven't gotten there yet. So what was your overall takeaway from Tupelo Honey?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Herb Saint. I was there last night.
Love Herb Saint. Very good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. It was, I have to say, one of the things that really struck me about Tupelo Honey, I think, was just merely its location. That area, if you haven't been downtown in a while or recently, the area east of 10th Street has been kind of east of the old market, is starting to be redeveloped into commercial space. And so I think I know the sister restaurant in the same development is now open, but Tupelo Honey was kind of the first restaurant to open, and it's actually located on 8th Street. So I thought that was really cool to kind of, instead of turning right like I always do when I'm walking down 10th Street, to actually turn left and to be eating in a spot that I had never eaten before. And to that end, they have a huge outdoor patio, which I think once the weather warms up, is going to be super popular. But yeah, I think, some of the things I expected to really be into at Tupelo Honey were not the things I ended up being into. So they have a sort of a really nice smoky kind of roasted pork dish that definitely I think was the highlight of the visits. I think another highlight is their homemade biscuit, which appears on I think either the small plates or the appetizer menu, but comes with, warm butter and homemade jam, and it's just, really kind of flaky, delicious on the inside. Biscuits are kind of one of my favorite. I would say they're in my, top baked goods, and this one was really well executed. I didn't like the fried chicken as much, which I was kind of surprised by. But, I think, to every, there's a lot of different versions of fried chicken out there. Theirs includes what they call honey dust, which I didn't really know
what is
what
that?
was. Never heard of it before. It's basically, it's kind of a sweet powder that they put they sprinkle over the crispy outside of the chicken. And, it wasn't necessarily to my personal taste. I know they're kind of known for it, though. They are a national chain, so they have locations all over the country.
As far as, and you mentioned the patio, and I think of a patio, I think of a good meal, but also a good cocktail as well. Did they have a pretty extensive list when it came to cocktail options?
Yeah, the first time we went, it was December, and so I did enjoy a cocktail. And then the second time we went, I was actually doing, I'm not going to be dishonest with your listeners, I was doing damp January. So I wasn't doing fully dry January, but I was allowing myself cocktails, to a minimum on like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
I don't believe I've ever heard anybody refer to it as damp January. That's a good little out right there. I like that. That's good.
So I actually, they had several cocktails that were on a special dry January menu. So, if you were doing dry January, even if you, don't drink alcohol or for whatever reason, I will say that I had one of the best non-alcoholic cocktails that I think I've ever had. And I've done dry January fully and, damp January several years now, in January. And it was just a really, really good version of a bee's knees, which is a classic cocktail, but theirs was done, of course, with no alcohol. And I liked it so much that I went home and I ordered, and now have ordered several more bottles of the NA spirit that was used as the base spirit in that cocktail. And the bartender actually came out and talked to me about it a little bit, just, asked me what I thought. I think I was the first person to have ordered that cocktail during January. So, I thought that was really nice. And I like their cocktail program a lot. We liked a lot of the drinks we got. As you might expect, they have a lot of nice kind of whiskey, bourbon type cocktails that I think fit in really well with the richness of their food.
Now, I'd mentioned some of the other places that you can obviously enjoy Southern cooking. How does Tupelo Honey sort of compare to like an Acadian, to a Mouth of the South, to an Herb Saint, in your opinion?
I think what Tupelo Honey is going for is a little bit more of a higher end experience. I feel like some of the dishes were similar, but just kind of with their own twist. Whereas I feel in my past experiences Acadian and Mouth of the South, it was more classic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're kind of more, I would say they're more comparable to Herb Saint, where the dishes are, I would say, Southern inspired, but not Southern classic so much. Like for example, their grits have like their shrimp and grits. In the grits is like goat cheese. So that's definitely not a traditional choice. It's sort of a twist on a tradition. So it's kind of, I would say it's more in line with Herb Saint based on what I ate at Herb Saint last night.
The other one, and this was actually first recommended by Gary, and then we had to kind of take a look at this place too, and that is Salted Edge. If you're out in the West Omaha, Waterloo area, this is not only a very nice restaurant, very upscale feel, but talk about a lot of options and kind of unique options too. What did you take away from Salted Edge?
Salted Edge, I think, is the one that we've talked about it a couple of times that people have asked me so many times if I'd been to Salted Edge. When was I going to Salted Edge? Had I tried the bread plate at Salted Edge?
Right, yeah.
And so I think I told you I hadn't done any real research or looked it up, but I mean, the bread plate at Salted Edge is, I can see why so many people are talking about it. It's really good. It's very unusual. In terms of not that it's just a bread plate. I mean, you can get a bread plate anywhere, but when I interviewed the chef, we talked a little bit about how this was a thing he had served before at some of his previous restaurants, and it had been popular, but it had not been as popular as it is in Omaha. And I can see why. There's a biscuit on there. There's a popover on there, which is a really kind of cool, creamy centered English sort of bread product. And, there's other types of bread on there as well. And each bread is paired with its own complementary compound butter. So you're getting this sort of, it just feels very well executed and well done. And I feel like that was, one of the main things I took away from all of the dishes is that they were just really well thought out, well conceived. And the space is really nice too. I mean, it's very, like you said, very high end. And I think it really goes to what we've talked about lately, that there's more of these types of restaurants opening in, West Omaha. And this is far West Omaha. It took me a solid 40 minutes to get out there.
You're basically in Lincoln. I mean, come on.
Yeah, basically.
Now, I saw that you had posted the picture of this. This was one of the things that I found so unique yet amazing was the crispy shrimp deviled eggs.
Yeah.
Did you dig those?
I did, and I thought those were a really cool, study, I guess, in texture.
Yeah.
You've got the creaminess, and then you've got the spiciness, and then you've got this like hot shrimp that's got a lot of crunch to it. And just, I felt like so many of the dishes that we tried were like that, sort of like, two things that you have had separately before that maybe you never thought to put together on your own. And I really like that. I like the bread with the compound butters. And I think at a more basic level, everything we tried, fish, protein, I had a steak, we had those deviled eggs, we had several seafood items. Everything was really cooked very well. And so, sometimes I think there's restaurants that can have signature dishes or twists on items that are fun, but they don't always nail the basics.
Yeah.
And Salted Edge is firing on all cylinders.
Sarah, I know you got to get on a call. I don't want to keep you much longer, but can you give us an idea of where we might be seeing the next review, when we might be seeing the next review at sarahbakerhansen.com?
Yeah, we took a little unintentional break, but the next review is coming on this next Thursday, a week from today. I'm excited to talk to you about it. I can't really reveal too much, but it's a place that was a little bit on my radar, but not really. I'm excited to visit it. And then coming after that, I have another restaurant that's kind of in my neighborhood that I'm really excited to write about. That it's a lot of fun. So I have some good reviews coming. And also we're right around the corner from March Madness.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing our food bracket again. We're already working on it. So I'm very excited to reveal what our topic is going to be this year and talk to you more about it.
I cannot wait, and we look forward to that. That bracket was always fun. The craft beer one was right in my wheelhouse. That was awesome. I know there was a lot of participation in a lot of the different breweries, so this, I'm sure whatever it is will be fantastic. And hey, congratulations on not only getting through Damp January, but also naming it Damp January, because I think I'm now going to borrow that next year.
Okay, that sounds good. Maybe I should reserve dampjanuary.com.
That's great. Sarah, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the week.
You too. Bye.
Sarah Baker Hansen, sarahbakerhansen.com. Yeah, the two reviews that she has here recently, and I think by now a lot of you have heard of Tupelo Honey. Then there was Salted Edge that I know Gary had recommended.
So that's the place I was trying to put
out in Waterloo, and I'm telling you, crispy shrimp deviled eggs. Oh, first of all, it pairs two things that I love. I'm a big deviled egg fan, and I love shrimp.
Shrimp is good.
And you got crispy shrimp deviled eggs. It's a very unique menu. It's a little more pricey, just letting you know. But they have
only on-air talent and management,
upstairs people.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can get like a steak and frites. You can get they even have like a small
kids menu.
Yeah, I mean, I know Reese would like the frites, and you also have good craft cocktails there. They've even got like a small selection of pizzas and everything. So I mean, it's a really cool spot out there in Waterloo, the Salted Edge.
I mean, I do need to come up with something to enjoy for my birthday that's coming up. So
there you go.
That could be on the list.
Yeah. Now we are going to Nate Borgazzi tomorrow, and so we're going to be in the downtown area. I know a couple of the restaurants that we're trying to get to were already. We have kind of a bigger party, like of 9, so we didn't have a lot of options that would accommodate us. But I know we're going to go to the Stuffed Olive, which I've never been to.
This Reese's first stand-up comedy show.
Reese will not be attending. Nate Borgazzi.
Thought I'd ask.
Although, from what I appreciate about Nate Borgazzi is it's for the most part family friendly. He doesn't use a lot of profanity. So
you probably want to take Reese to Lewis Black.
No. There's a line. There's certain things Reese can watch. Like he can get into Mighty Ducks humor right now. And I just introduced him to The Sandlot this week, which he was about. But I forgot in the middle of the movie during the Wendy Peppercorn moment when Squints pulls off the kiss.
Yeah.
The one kid goes, "Oh, he's in deep blank." Uh-oh. Yeah, Reese heard that. He didn't repeat it though, but he did hear that. And my wife and I kind of looked at each other like, ooh.
And then we
forgot about that.
And then Reese said, because he'd be canceled, right?
Yeah,
That's right, Reese.
Yeah, yeah, he's learning about stuff like that too. So good stuff from Sarah Baker.
Didn't want to get me too. Instead, he got the girl and 9 kids in Vincent's drugstore.
That would not fly right now.
9 kids.
Thank goodness that came out when it did.
Good Lord, he must have been a really good dead player kisser person.
Well, you saw Wendy Peppercorn.
I mean,
she was all right.
Yeah.
Squints was perving a dish.
You're saying he didn't need any what is it you're doing the endorsement for? He didn't need that.
He didn't need hymns. He didn't need mentality. You name it. All right. When we come back, I'll get more into some observations, including one major one in the Nebraska loss to Northwestern on what was just a disappointing night out there in Evanston. And yeah, maybe I did jinx them. We will talk to Steve Sipple, get his thoughts on what he heard from Matt Rule yesterday. I know there was a lot of conversation about Glenn Thomas's role with the offense as well, and also some expectations from the Sip man as well. As that continues here, we will get to Brian Edwards, some prop bets for the Super Bowl as well before we get out of here as we continue. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
The suspicious activity also included the Better Showing Sportsbook staff messages from Bohannon and explaining that the messages were Bohannon informing Better that Bama was scratching its starting pitcher before the game before Bohannon alerted LSU.
So the
guys, look, I have messages from the coach.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A breezy and mild day ahead for Thursday. Expect sunshine in the morning with more clouds in the afternoon as a cold front passes through. Highs will top out in the mid-50s around midday, then slide into the 40s by the evening. Still can't rule out a stray shower between noon and 4 p.m. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620, The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. No new accidents to report, but we do have some stop-and-go traffic dodge eastbound between I-680 and 72nd, as well as between 180th and 156th. And if you're traveling JFK northbound, it slows down a little bit starting at Chandler up to I-80. Be prepared for some delays in these areas, and remember to wear those seatbelts and stay safe, everybody. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Nebraska Lottery has raised over $965 million, which has helped provide more than 117,000 college scholarships, save wildlife habitats across the state, and fund new facilities at the Nebraska State Fair. The Nebraska Lottery, helping to build a better Nebraska.
Creighton Athletics would like to thank Methodist Hospital and CHI Health for their continued support of the annual Creighton versus Cancer Pink Out Games. All funds raised support the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge, Nebraska. Through continued efforts and financial contributions, we look to increase cancer awareness through this great event. Methodist Hospital and CHI Health, proud sponsors of the 13th annual Creighton versus Cancer Pink Out Games.
Maverick baseball and softball are right around the corner. Get your season tickets today by calling 402-554-MAVS. This week, Omaha Maverick women's basketball takes on North Dakota and North Dakota State at Baxter Arena, while Omaha Maverick men's basketball is a game out of first place and making a run for the conference title. They take on South Dakota February 15th and South Dakota State February 17th. Let's pack the Baxter. Get your tickets now by calling 402-554-MAVS or by going to omavs.com/tickets.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning.
Want to start getting conversational in another language? In as little as 3 weeks, Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com.
There is only one constant in the universe, and that's change.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists.
I'm sure many of you remember the incredibly low interest rates that were available only a few years ago. Well, things changed. Now rates are higher. But would you believe me if I told you there was a time when people were paying double-digit rates? And that's the thing. Everything changes. Rates go up, rates go down. So if you're waiting for the perfect time when rates drop before you buy a home, you might miss out on the home you really want. So when you think about it, what's a thing today might not be a thing tomorrow. See? Change is good. I'm Brent Rasmussen. Call me at Mortgage Specialists, and we can show you all the details. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.
Click mtg-specialists.com. NMLS number 5918, Equal Housing Lender.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Two things from last night's loss to Northwestern for Nebraska hoops. And first and foremost, everybody noticed the big lineup that Nebraska opened up with, where you essentially replace. I look at Juwan Gary as a starter, and so I'm not saying, oh, you bring Juwan Gary off the bench, but I guess last night you did and brought him in as a starter. Usually it's going to be Josiah Allick that I would think would normally be the guy that would come off the bench if you're
Instant
making
energy.
the big lineup. Right. So last night it was Bryce Williams, Casey, and then you had essentially three bigs in Rink Mast, Josiah Allick, and Juwan Gary, which I understood. I think that was a way to continue to put yourself in a position like they were at home against Northwestern and winning the rebound battle. Jamarcus Lawrence, I think that it kind of serves two purposes, one being the rebounding battle, but also maybe allowing Jamarcus Lawrence to be able to kind of ease into a little bit of the 2 spot off the bench, give you a spark in the backcourt, but also try to find some type of effective role for him right now, because the point guard thing is not his strength. I think we've known that. And give Fred some credit. They haven't tried to put him in a position where he's the primary ball handler. But that, in a weird way, kind of backfired from the sense that I think that had Nebraska sort of stuck in mud a little bit last night, early on. You know, you basically trade in more size and you take a little bit less, you take some speed off of the floor, if you will. Nebraska did. I agree with Gary. They looked slow last night. We know the workload that they've had, but I'm not going to cue the violin for them.
Put it to you this way. I think it was Boo Booey. I mean, who else would it be? Boo Booey makes a shot. Fred calls timeouts. First half, about 10 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
They're down double digits now. And what I said to the puppy is, well, it looks like we're done here. I mean, I still kept watching because I wasn't going to get out that easily. But
there's a difference of being down, it was double digits at home and double digits on the road.
And you hear that way that timeout's called, you're like, yep, this is going to get ugly quickly.
Yeah.
And Boo Booey was determined after what happened in Lincoln. You knew he was going to bring it. So the challenge is, all right, then somebody needs to match that for Nebraska. And you already know the answer of that if the game is not at home and not on Peacock.
Yeah.
It was neither of those things.
Look, Northwestern got everything they needed in this go around. They won the rebounding battle. They were able to turn Nebraska over again a lot. And this time they were able to do it early in the game, to where Nebraska, when they had the 18 turnovers, it was present in Lincoln in the first half, but it was really catastrophic. They're lucky they didn't blow that game in Lincoln there towards the end, where the turnovers were, I mean, they were huge. Now, Northwestern's points off turnovers was 26.
Well, they took advantage easily.
And so that's where I look at the offensive rebounding, where, again, Nebraska gets beat on the boards there. They give up 13 offensive rebounds. Now, they didn't get pulverized on second chance points, but
good work.
As I'm watching this game, I brought this up in the first hour too, watching this game, how challenging Nebraska makes even just a basic rebound look, where they're in position. They got guys behind them.
They make basketball hard.
They do when it comes to that. And so that, to me, is an issue that maybe I didn't notice as much. When they get beat on the glass, they get beat on the glass. When a guy gets an offensive board, that happens. But even when they've got their man boxed out and they're trying to gain control of the basketball, that it's batted around a couple of times. It might wind up finally in the hands of an actual Husker, but it also probably exchanged hands like 2 or 3 times. It's crazy to me watching that. And then the turnovers themselves last night, again, wasn't the second chance points, even though they gave up 13 offensive boards. It was the points off turnovers of 26. Some of those turnovers, and I know Fred spoke about this last night in the post game with the radio broadcast. Some of the turnovers were just like inexcusable, like lazy, like tried to catch a pass with one hand, just real careless. Like I would love to say, man, Northwestern was just up in their chili the entire game, which
they played well.
They did, and Northwestern, hey, they used some half court pressure at times too. They knew that based on the last meeting that they could get Nebraska to turn the basketball over, and so I'd give them credit that there was some of those turnovers that were because Northwestern was a little bit more relentless. But you go back to that fatigue factor. Fatigue impacts your shots, obviously, but it can impact just your overall decision-making and how you maybe step to a pass. Basic things that you learn like when you're in middle school of executing some of the most basic fundamentals of passing the basketball around. It was just very haphazard last night with Nebraska. And to me, that was more disappointing than anything is
well, you just didn't have hope.
That's
my point. 10 minutes in the first half, and
there.
you're saying we're done here. I also forgot I did add, so much for Nick and his predictions. I actually said he seems to predict basketball like Josh Peterson predicts weather.
Yeah.
That's not good. So that being said, Nick, come on, ride with the Chiefs tomorrow. Not trying to give anything away. Ride with them.
I'll give you that prediction tomorrow, but we'll see.
Ride 15.
Man.
Ride Kelsey. Be like Taylor Swift. Ride Kelsey.
Well, and I'm watching Northwestern. Look, Northwestern, it's kind of like their football program. They just do a lot of the little things right. They're not overwhelmed. Like Boo Booey's a great player.
He's pretty good.
He's very athletic. He's the step back threes that he was making last night were insane. The guy's a great player. But like when I think
he hit a couple of those, and the first thing you're thinking, so Michigan on Saturday, huh? Sold out, huh? Be fun.
Well, when I'm thinking of like Matthew Nicholson, Ty Berry's a decent player, and he got banged up a little bit early, but Langborg is a nice player. Barnheiser, I actually really do like Brooks Barnheiser.
Nice name.
He's a good player. But like Nick Martinelli, who actually looks a lot like Morgan Wallen, in my opinion.
Wow.
They got some bench production
on my
there.
bingo card this morning.
And just every time he was at the free throw line, but he's got like this weird little like jump shot free throw. It's just like they're just give Chris Collins a lot of credit.
They play like smart kids.
But it's like somewhat like underwhelming. Yet all of a sudden you look at these runs they're getting off of, and you're watching Boo Boo just knock shots down everywhere, and you're like, man,
they're pretty good.
This is a tough team to defend.
And they're smart. Damn.
I just, on top of all the mistakes that Nebraska's making, you're looking at a team that record-wise and really ability-wise is pretty good. They just don't overwhelm you with like, damn, those guys are players. Like, just a lot of that last night. It led to major disappointment. Now, remember, the good thing for Nebraska is, okay, they have another short turnaround at home against Michigan. But after that, you get that bye week. So where they do not play a midweek game at all. Will Nebraska look different? Like, I mean, it's at least plausible. And I'm not saying I buy it, because there's a lot about this basketball program that I still need to see it before I'm going to believe it. But it is plausible with the way that the schedule has worked out for Nebraska that they are just flat out gassed. That would be the only thing that could explain what was just a total lackluster effort. At least what appeared to be a lackluster effort. The turnovers is one thing, but just looking 2 steps slower than Northwestern the entire night, even right out of the gate, understanding what that game could have done for their resume, what that game could do for the next couple of weeks if you were to stub your toe somewhere.
And make no mistake, if you turned it off after that 10 minutes, 80-68 was not that close.
No, I mean, that lead crept into 21. I think that was the largest lead at one point, was 21. Then Nebraska kind of messed around, flirted a little bit with trying to get that thing into single digits. They did, like, inside like a couple minutes left to go.
But you know they're not going to win.
Yeah, I mean, Northwestern's
like, oh, I mean, we got it.
They always had an answer. So it was, they kept him at arm's length the entire night. But I said this yesterday, once Boo Booey got going early in this game, as opposed to
what you had to
what he saw in Lincoln. Yeah, you knew he was going to take shots. But that was the other part of it, is they didn't defend him as well. And that wasn't, a flaw in the game plan. It was just guys not having the same type of steam.
Problem.
Yeah, it was not having the same type of steam, not being able to keep up with them. Maybe Northwestern is so much, and now Northwestern is undefeated at home. I mean, that is important. As Nebraska has not won on the road, Northwestern hasn't lost at home. I mean, that is an important distinction to make. But when I look at that matchup, there are other matchups in the Big Ten that scare me worse than Northwestern. Given the quality of play in that overtime loss to Illinois, I expected more out of Nebraska last night.
Perusing the schedule, little concern here. I don't see any more Peacock.
That's not good.
Unless you get them in Minneapolis or wherever the hell the tournament is.
It is in Minneapolis. Okay. I don't believe any of those games are on the cock, but maybe.
Some are going to be, but the ones that you wouldn't watch anyway, unless you're a degenerate or you just really love basketball.
Like the play-in games?
Yeah, or the teams that aren't good that play on like Monday or whatever.
Oh, no, well, no, I think the entire tournament is
on TV.
Is on TV.
Oh,
I think.
I swear Peacock was going to have some games.
They might. I guess it's possible.
Maybe Nebraska can petition the conference, like, hey.
Well, could you have a joint venture where you could also stream it?
Ooh, what would that do to the? Yeah.
I don't know anybody who would be like, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to watch them on Peacock as opposed to the Big Ten Network
because they win here.
Yeah. It was a bad look last night. There were just a couple of things that looked a little different. Like not the rebounding, not the turnovers. Those have been a part of it, but just the overall energy level. And again, this is where I'm hopeful that, okay, maybe it is a real situation right now where Nebraska, they need to get through this Michigan game. They've got to win. This is a must win. You have to beat Michigan. You cannot afford a loss like that. That's why last night's loss was so disappointing. If you win that game last night, you give yourself an opportunity that if you were to stub your toe, it's not catastrophic. You don't win last night. If you, for some reason, lose on Saturday against Michigan, yeah, that's bad. That's bad. We're having a completely different conversation
that happens,
on Monday.
I think that tells you a lot. They may still make the tournament, but that
team needs to get off their feet. I truly
at that
do
point,
feel
they
that
might
way.
be in Dayton to begin with,
Yeah.
and then but if you're in Dayton, that much more of an opportunity to win odds. It still counts.
It's just nothing good about that look last night at all. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about
6 if we're going to play like that.
We'll get Sip's thoughts on what he saw last night too, but also a lot on the football side of things. Matt Rule speaking for a little over a half hour yesterday after the final signing period of the 2024 class. We'll get Sip's thoughts on that. Also, some reason for optimism according to Sip, and also his thoughts on what he had to say about Marcus Satterfield and Glenn Thomas. There's a lot to take away from what the head coach had to say yesterday, and we'll get Sip's thoughts on all of that coming up next here on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom.
Timber Creek Pizza Pub and Grill serves pizza with an unforgettable pizza sauce and fresh ingredients in unique combinations of bold flavors. Try customer favorites like the 3 Oinks and a Moo, the Mountain Man, or the Upset Grizzly Bear. Make your watch party memorable and tasty with a Timber Creek Football Party Package. Pre-order now for an easy game day pickup. Call Timber Creek today. Timber Creek Pizza Pub and Grill at 178th and Harrison and at timbercreekpizzaomaha.com.
J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers, offers exterior solutions that help you protect your number one investment. Whether it's roofing and siding or windows and doors, they're committed to excellence, quality, and outstanding customer service in every step of the process. When it's time to protect the exterior of your home, your choice is simple. Turn to who the Huskers turn to, J-Tech Construction. Check them out online and schedule a free estimate today. J-Tech Construction, the official exterior experts of the Huskers.
Is your phone plan messing with your savings plan? Don't get stuck paying for things you don't want. With Verizon, you only pay for what you need. And for a limited time, when you bring your own phones to a Verizon store, you'll get an amazing price on your plan. Plus, you'll save on things you actually love, like the Netflix and Max with Ads bundle. And it's on our award-winning 5G network. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today for an incredible deal. A better plan to save is Verizon. Additional terms and conditions apply.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
If you're having problems in the bedroom, talking about it is the last thing you want to do. Same goes for hair loss, anxiety, or even depression. That's where HIMS comes in. Through HIMS, you don't have to talk about it. You can do something about it. Just go to hims.com/start, where you can find a variety of potential solutions for the problems men face every day and save up to 95% on generic alternatives. The entire process is 100% online, making it incredibly simple, straightforward, and above all, private. If prescribed, treatments made using clinically proven ingredients are shipped directly to your door in low-key packaging. So if you're experiencing ED, hair loss, anxiety, or problems with your general health, you don't have to go to the doctor, the pharmacy, or spend all day talking about it. Just go to hims.com/start and do something about it. Get started today at hims.com/start. That's HIMS.com/START.
Hi, this is Stacey McElligott, Director of Sales for Energy Media Omaha. Energy Media is looking for an accomplished bilingual new business development salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to the next level. Is this you? Our multimedia account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on site, audio, video, it's all part of what you could sell. A sales career with NRG Media lets you make a real difference in our community. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Oh. Is this cake?
It is.
Wow.
You're going to be in Lincoln.
Yeah.
Oh, we talked about that.
Cake doing a little picking right there, too. Yeah. There's a cake song that you don't hear every day. Okay. That's a good pull there.
Thank you.
Steve Sipple joining us from On 3.
Only
and
the best for Sip.
93.7 The Ticker. Sip, are you a cake fan?
No, I mean I'm not anti it anyway. I'm just overly familiar with it.
Well, they're going to be in Lincoln, so I didn't know if you had already gotten your ticket.
When are they going to be in Lincoln, and where are they playing?
They are PBA. I know that.
They are PBA?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
it's PBA, and I want to say it's in
Are they opening for
June or July. It's in the summer, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, I mean I like that. I mean I didn't hear much of the song, but I heard enough of it to pique my interest.
Well, and I'm sure you know the cult classic from Cake of Going the Distance. It's like
I do, and I don't like that song. No,
Oh.
I don't like the band, but no, that song is repulsive.
Oh, that's repulsive.
So with that endorsement,
Wow.
May 13th at Pinewood Bowl.
Oh, it's May 13th, Pinewood Bowl. Okay, for some reason I thought they're PBA. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes a band has a bad song. It doesn't define them, so I'm not out on them.
Well, good on you. Yeah, they can't all be winners, and I'm glad that you don't hold that against them to the point that you would never see them or celebrate their entire catalog. That's good.
No, I would. No, I would consider their entire catalog before I made any real judgment on it.
Hey, this is a good jumping off point from what we heard yesterday from Matt Rule when it comes to play calling. I know that was a big takeaway from yesterday of, will Glenn Thomas be doing some play calling? Is this Marcus Satterfield? And it was very definitive by the head coach yesterday. But when it comes to the overall play calling, Sip, from last year, where would you put that on the list of things that impacted this Nebraska offense?
Mid. I mean, not. I mean, the issue was turnovers. And then if you want to go to a subset, the issue is quarterback turnovers.
Yep.
No, I never. I mean, when I go back in my mind's eye and assess the season, there's instances where you would nitpick play calling, of course, but you would do that with any team at any level. There's always plays you can pick out and say terrible call. Of course there is. I mean, that's the nature of football. But by and large, in assessing the totality of Satterfield's play calling, I didn't come away from games saying that was a really poorly called game. I've done that a few times. I mean, Frost, when they played Illinois during the COVID season, that would be an example of Illinois, but I guess more profoundly Minnesota during the COVID season. There were instances where you come out of games going, what was he doing? What, like big picture questions.
Yeah.
Why, and I didn't do that this year with Satterfield.
Were you encouraged, surprised, or pretty much what you expected when hearing about what Glenn Thomas's overall role will be when it comes to being, again, the title of co-OC?
Well, I think you said a great word, Nick. Rule was very definitive. I just wanted clarity. And I mean, it's not that I want clarity so much, but, we're working for the fan base, basically, is why we're sitting in that room. And I heard from a lot of people and colleagues that wondered exactly what's the structure going to look like, and especially as it relates to play calling.
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you what, I hope we never take this for granted about Rule. He's very definitive, as you say. The clarity with which he answered that particular part of the discussion, but also, as he expanded, you got a very good idea of how it works on the offensive side of the ball, right? You know who's standing in front of the room. It's Satterfield. We know this, and we didn't know it. I don't know that we could say we knew it before yesterday for sure, but we know it's it's Satterfield's offense. It's not Glenn Thomas's offense. It's not anybody else's offense but Satterfield. We know that Donovan Raiola is largely in charge of the run game, doesn't have a run game coordinator according to rules. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing Matt, but he's effectively the run game coordinator, Donovan Raiola.
Yeah.
We know that Glenn Thomas and Garrett McGuire are involved in design. I mean, they're involved in that. We know that Matt Rule chips in. He just chips in. You know, if there's something he sees, as a lot of head coaches that don't call plays or aren't in charge of one side of the ball will do, he'll pipe in when necessary. And I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate a head coach standing at a podium in front of his fan base effectively and laying out exactly the way it works. Because and I'm not going to call anybody out here, but we've had coaches that don't do that.
Yeah.
That just didn't do it. We always kind of had to wonder a little bit. And then when you wonder, you tend to, I don't know, take some leaps in your assessments. And you don't even you're not even really asking the right questions of the right people. But now, you know, if there's a question about the run game, Donovan's a good guy to ask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a question about the quarterbacks, it's Glenn Thomas. So I really appreciate that.
You're right from the standpoint of, I think what I took away from yesterday is he could have said, you know, in answering anything about who's going to be calling the plays, he could have just said Satterfield's going to call the plays. But then as you mentioned, to give you a little bit more context of it, start to define more of the roles, because you mentioned Donovan Raiola. I think we all kind of assumed he would maybe at some point be elevated to run game coordinator on top of offensive line coach, but he basically said he is without the title. So you kind of get an idea of how that whole thing is going to work. And then obviously Donovan Raiola wasn't a part of this before with a lot of these guys together, you know, either at Temple or Baylor. But then you can also draw some comparisons to what they did, what this group, for the most part, offensively did at two different spots when it comes to developing the most important position right now, which is another thing I kind of took away from is, all right, now you clearly know why Glenn Thomas is here and what he's going to be tasked with doing, which, I mean, Sip, we started this conversation talking about the thing that probably plagued this offense the most was the quarterback position and the turnovers. And so this is another example of trying to solve that problem the best way they know how to, but in a familiar way as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there was just to add some context, there was an interview with Heinrich Harburg on a Kearney radio station a few weeks ago or several weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Heinrich just slipped into conversation something that pertains to this. And that is, he said with an offensive coordinator like Satterfield also coaching the quarterbacks, that all of the quarterbacks understood the offense very well. They understood what was expected of them in a big picture way and then in a micro way on a game to game basis.
Mm-hmm.
But he said there wasn't a lot of technique, mechanical type work. Whereas with Mario Verduzco, a dedicated quarterbacks coach, there was a lot. I mean, that's what Mario specialized in.
Yeah.
So he didn't say that he didn't say in any kind of plain terms that the quarterback room suffered from the lack of mechanical work, but it's not that difficult to make that jump.
Mm-hmm.
Within every play, there are mechanics that go along with it at the quarterback position. And if those suffer, you might have some problems. So I'm not, and I don't want to do this thing where you know, quarterbacks for Nebraska combined for 25 turnovers. That's a ton, right?
Yeah.
25 is a big number. I don't want to just say that's all on Satterfield, because that would be oversimplification. But I think that just by virtue of Rule making a change like this tells you that he saw something that wasn't quite right.
Talking to Steve Sipple here on 1620 The Zone. Sip, any other things from just Rule's conversation yesterday? Because I do want to get into recruiting and some thoughts on basketball as well. But as far as what Rule had to say, because there was a lot. I mean, he spoke for over 30 minutes. He talked about some of the offseason early developments. I thought what he had to say about Jamal Banks was interesting, and a lot of that was off the field, though, as far as how much of a leader he's kind of been in some of the points and competitiveness he's been during what they're doing. But I mean, he seemed like typical Matt Rule. It seemed like kind of a recharged Matt Rule, but also seemed, I don't know, maybe just sort of without actually coming out and saying it. There seemed to be a sense of pride with what they were able to accomplish with this recruiting class, especially in the 11th hour with getting two, additional signees.
Yeah, I think so. It's been hard work. He made that clear.
Mm-hmm.
Off seasons are really difficult for a college coaching staff. I was really struck by the comments about Banks, and when I kind of couple his public comments about Jamal Banks with what I've heard just behind the scenes. The Banks picture right off the bat is a really good one. You couple what Rule said, which they assign point totals to various elements of winter conditioning. It's not really on field stuff. It's workout, what they do away from the building and such. But he's far and away the leader. Jamal Banks is the name we got to keep driving into people because he's already making a huge impression. I'll tell you one thing you don't have to worry about Jamal Banks. He's showing up for every throwing session.
Yep.
I mean, he'll be there probably first. He's already forming a rapport with Dylan and the other quarterbacks. That's a great picture if you're a Nebraska fan, because that's a 6'4", 210-pound proven ACC receiver, so 60 plus catches in 2 separate seasons. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really taken by. I would also say Isaiah Nayor is another guy you don't have to worry about. Those guys are veteran guys, and I think with veterans, sometimes they recognize urgency and the daily urgency more than young guys do. And now I would say this too, though. It's not where now Matt, I think he's doing a great job. And I don't think the urgency throughout the program is where it needs to be. I don't. Now he might dispute that. I just hear different things. I still think there's work to be done there, but I think that I do think they're making progress. But I mean, I like a lot of just about everything I heard yesterday. I like the way they're going about it, and so yeah, I do think they did a good job recruiting.
You made me think of one guy, and I want to be careful in assuming anything, but again, this is where I can appreciate Matt Rule speaking very positively about someone who is doing things the way that they want him to do it, but also maybe holding a player or two accountable. There was obviously, it seemed like a tinge of disappointment with Micah Mazuka. I caught a little bit of just how he was holding, again, trying to hold people accountable. And I think he just, to me, there's a previous relationship there. And I think Matt Rule just expects more. That's kind of what I took from that.
Oh, you took the exact right thing. He was very clear about it. It was striking, actually. On the other end of the spectrum from Jamal Banks is Mazuka.
Yeah.
And he, according to Rule, and again, I'll paraphrase, said that Mazuka has to adapt to the way Nebraska does things. There's a certain way that Nebraska does things. There's a certain expectation of effort and commitment, and that Mazuka has to make some improvement in those areas. That's fine. And it's okay, I think, to use the media to send that message sometimes. These aren't, and especially in the case of Mazuka, these are professionals basically now that we're talking about. Everybody's getting paid. All 85 are getting paid. All of them. Mazuka's getting paid. He's probably 22, if not 23 years old. Why would he be immune to public criticism? He's a grown man at this point. So it's interesting when Rule does that, because we haven't seen a lot of that at Nebraska, but times have changed. They have. These guys are now making money, and there are more guys in that 22, 23, 24-year-old area that, why can't they be criticized? They don't really fall under the category of kids, So, no, he made it very clear, and it's fine. I mean, Mazuka's got plenty of time to get himself rounded into form before spring ball.
Sip, I know from talking to you, in the past, when it comes to recruiting, you're more of a wait and see kind of guy.
Yeah.
Is anything about this recruiting class paired with what we already saw in a smaller sample size with some early development with those freshmen a year ago and this coaching staff's reputation that made this recruiting class feel different as far as expectations?
Yeah, Dylan Raiola makes it feel different.
Sure.
And I think a couple of the higher end guys do that. Carter Nelson does that for me. They did a good Grant Bricks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I appreciate that they went out and got, top rated players in individual states, Carter and Bricks. And I don't know. I think, Dylan was definitely number one in Georgia by a few services.
Yeah.
So that, I think they're doing a really good job up front on both sides. And I do think it helps the late addition of Wilhite in that conversation,
right.
To Wilhite. They didn't really have, and Ochoa to a certain extent too, they didn't really have an edge in the class. But I guess, just to wrap it up, I'm most appreciative of two things. The line recruiting on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they were loaded up in this class with interior guys. They weren't. But the previous class they were. So it wasn't as big as a need. Then you added Keona Wilhite late. So that was good. Offensive line recruiting, I'd say, has been excellent. And then also just the overall size. They're going after bigger receivers. They added a big back. I'm not saying that's if Nebraska were still in the Big 12, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
They're not in the Big 12. They're in the Big 10. It's a bigger. You see the games. I mean, it's a bigger league. The field really shrinks up in the Big 10 if you've noticed, because there's so much size. And adding 6'4" receivers and even a big quarterback and keeping that line with hulking dudes. That's what you need in this league.
Sip, before I let you go, your impressions of last night's Nebraska basketball loss to Northwestern. Is it something that you were indifferent on? Is it something that concerns you, or are you more of, hey, they're just kind of playing to what we know they are? They're good on the good end of the home floor, but they're just not good on the road.
That's it. That's right there. So it's confounding in a way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot about this team impresses me. I want to make that clear. But I regarded last night as a horrific waste of time. It was just.
I would agree.
Perfectly.
Yeah. They weren't a big threat to ever win the game. They were kind of a threat to hang around. And basically all they did for me is make me stay up later than I wanted to, because they kind of in there,
See, I'm not the only one.
Right. No, you're not. The thing is, they pull you in. They really pulled me in against Wisconsin and Illinois. And I just thought, okay, they got something. But, then last night, Mass, Rink was just 2 for 8 and K-State was just 3 for 7.
Mm-hmm.
And they just didn't, they just didn't acquit themselves very well in any area, really. So, and then, here's the bottom line. And this is the thing that you have to, if you go overboard like me and thinking that, oh man, this is a team that's going to make an NCAA tournament run, you have to continually remind yourselves that they've been out rebounded in 10 of the last 11 games, and they don't know what to do at point guard. So now they'll come back. Here's the thing. Michigan's coming to town and it's sold out, and they will probably look like a top 10 team against Michigan. So again, we'll get sucked in, and it's kind of fun in a way, but it's kind of weird in a way.
Oh yeah. Weird is a good way to put it. Steve Sipple with On3 and 93.7 The Ticket. Sip, always appreciate you joining us, my man. Have a great rest of the week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, especially for us, and Sip is like us. Sip is one of us. He has to get up early. He has to do a little radio as well. So when you start to see games played like that.
I stayed up for this.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Like even at halftime. And he's right about the sucking you in thing, because if
Parcells always said it, you've been sucked.
Need context there. When you
he meant that. You get sucked in. And
when you watch what they did against Illinois, where even with the loss, there was a good energy level. There were things that you could sort of draw from and say, okay, this looks a little bit different on the road, even with the loss. And then knowing that just a week ago, they were able to overcome a 19-point deficit, albeit at home. So you felt like, well, if I turn it off, I might miss out on another great comeback. Because we heard from a couple of folks. Nebraska ball Mike said that he had turned it off after Wisconsin was up by 19 or 16 at one point. I think they were up 16 at the half. That they turned it off. So people didn't want to miss that in case it were to happen. So that's where they kind of had us. But yeah, I mean, honestly, you could have turned that thing off in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. That timeout I told you about.
Because it never got any better.
Good here. We're done.
Yeah. It never got any better.
Night, everybody.
You could just see the different shot selection of Boo Booey, of shots that are going. And then the other thing, this is where we know K-State gets under a lot of people's skin with every three-pointer that was made last night from Northwestern. They were mimicking how K-State, when he hit the dagger three against Northwestern at home and had sort of the hands against the face reaction. You saw Boo Booey doing that for the countless three-pointers that he was making last night. But you also saw, I think I saw Barnheiser do it on his made three-pointer. Ty Berry, I think, did it as well. Yeah, Casey, he gets under people's skin sometimes just because, especially at home, like he plays to the crowd. If he's hitting big shots, there's a lot of animation with that. And I know fans love it. Your teammates, to an extent, probably love it.
Your opponent does not.
But your opponent, especially when they have an opportunity to serve it back to you, they will. Northwestern did last night. It just wasn't a good look. Everything about last night was just not a good look. And the reality is Nebraska is what they are. I just want to know if this is a team. Well, but it is.
Wrong.
It is in a way, in a sense that, are they better than what they showed last night? Yeah. I have that. That's not even, I don't even think that is trying to be rosy red colored glasses for Nebraska. I've seen this team, even in losses, like in the Maryland game, that didn't look great. It wasn't a question of energy or overall effort, like to where last night I questioned their energy. Last night I questioned their overall give a blank because of the carelessness with the turnovers. Now, you and I both know, we've been around enough Division I athletes that they didn't show up and just say, we don't care. We know they cared. We know they wanted the best result.
For a gear that's just not
exactly
there.
That's a great way to put it, Jimmy.
It's not that you're not trying. It's just,
but that's how it looks.
It's just nothing there.
Yeah,
like,
that's
man,
the
why can't you make shots, dude? I'm trying.
Yeah, there's a big difference of you're not trying to. You look like you're not trying, and so Saturday.
It's not like they organized an all-night drinking party.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully they weren't at the local gentleman's establishment and said, "Who do we play tonight?" Northwestern, who I believe that was also a Cats.
Yes.
Purple. That team that they're purple and they look a lot like K-State. By the way, Nebraska is now officially, they had their first loss against Purple Cats this season. Damn. Now 2-1. Maybe they'll get an opportunity in the Big Ten tournament. But yeah, it wasn't a good look.
Boo Booey again.
I really don't.
I'm good. No,
you know what? You know what? I'm fine with it. Again,
I mean, I'll watch him.
Northwestern for a solidly in the NCAA tournament field team. Boo Booey's great. But I watch them like, how are they so good? They don't look at, there's nothing about them that's like overwhelming.
I like that endorsement.
Chris Collins is a good coach.
He is.
Boo Booey's a great player. Brooks Barnheiser's growing on me. But am I worried about Morgan Wallen's lookalike? Nick Martinelli, who has a jump shot at the free throw line? Ty Berry's a good player. I do like Ty Berry. But yeah, like, there's just nothing about him. You're like, oh, God. But here they are. I don't know. All right, we're getting in the 9 o'clock hour. We will take a look at some of the better prop bets, according to Brian Edwards, before we get out of here. More from Creighton's game. And we'll get a little Super Bowl conversation, too, to chop some of that up. We're only days away from that. And, of course, your phone calls and your thoughts always welcome as well. As we continue, it's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620, The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, a couple disabled vehicles, one at 144th and Center, stalled out in the northbound turn lane to go east, and another on I-29 north southbound just before 16th Street. Do watch out for those. Might see a little bit of a delay in those areas. Other than that, stay safe and wear those seatbelts. Have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody. I'm Peter Krenzer.
Time-Saving Traffic is brought to you by Omaha Transmission.
You've probably heard about Omaha Transmission saving people money. Call Omaha Transmission and see why people have been recommending them for almost 20 years.
Shifting to running smooth. Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Since 1972, family-owned and locally roasted Host Coffee Service has been roasting the finest coffee for businesses and restaurants. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
You guys just didn't want it bad enough. That should have been an easy win. What were you doing out there? You got to hustle. You could have made that play if you'd been open.
On the car ride home after the game, when you think you're helping by telling me what I did wrong and what I need to work on, all I hear is that I'm not good enough, that I'm supposed to be perfect, that it's not okay to lose. On the car ride home, all I need to hear is how much you love me and enjoy watching me play, that my worth is determined by my performance. Even on my worst day, I am worthy. That you see me learning, growing, and doing my best. And that is enough.
This message presented by the NSAA and the Nebraska State Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
What goes great with football? Rib Shack Down Home Barbecue and Soul Food. Let Miss Jackie cater your next event with slow-cooked St. Louis ribs, wings, beef brisket, and pulled pork. Visit the Rib Shack in Roxbury Plaza at 108th and Q or at ribshacksmokehouse.com.
Email us on the Equitable inbox with whatever is on your mind. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can hit me up, agree, disagree, tell me your thoughts on life at Handley at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
The backseat. Check the backseat.
All right, come here.
Check the backseat.
Gets in your head, right? Good. Because every year, dozens of children are forgotten in the backseat of a car by a parent or caregiver. All never thought it could happen to them. But with changes in routines, distractions, or a sleeping child, it can happen to anyone. Parked cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. So get it in your head.
Check the backseat.
A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Yeah. 9 o'clock hour. Final hour here on a Thursday. Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy. Gary is now making the trek up to North Dakota. It is the Mavericks taking on No Deck. And then it is the Mavericks taking on North Dakota State this weekend. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy. And Gary mentioned it. He was on with us for the first 2 hours today, and he will be tomorrow as well on the road. Yeah. He said that maybe the biggest upset was there was no snow on the ground. They better. Can you imagine the baseball team actually being able to practice outside in North Dakota in February, before their season actually starts? They know that is unbelievable. That really is something. At the very least, okay, it still could be maybe in the 30s or 40s, sure.
Which they're
Stuff
hardy
happens.
folk, so they'd get out and play in it. But Yeah.
But to have no snow on the ground. How about that? Now, again, and Gary mentioned this. So North Dakota.
Poor Shriner's like, why was it like this when we were there?
Yeah, exactly. When you got the fuel gelling up. North Dakota has rattled off 6 wins in a row.
What is this, hockey?
I know, right? They sit atop, tied for the lead in the Summit League with South Dakota State. Both teams are at 6-3. But Omaha just 1 game behind them. Because you have a handful of teams right now at 5-4. St. Thomas, who Omaha just beat. Oral Roberts, who Omaha had a chance to beat. And then Omaha all sitting there at 5-4. South Dakota State, who Omaha looked really good against on the road, came up just short in that one. And then North Dakota, who Omaha has beaten. So this thing is getting interesting. This is a huge weekend for Omaha men's basketball. Now, North Dakota State, who they play on Saturday, a little bit further down the pecking order in the Summit League, they are at 3-5, second to last.
Man,
in
that's
the
surprising
Summit
for
League.
the Bison.
Yeah, usually it's reversed. Usually, if you're going to look at a North Dakota school that's on top of the Summit League basketball standings, it would be NDSU and not North Dakota. So
they'll play well Saturday. I know Dave Richmond. He's a good coach. It's a good team.
And he
Some
looks
years
a lot
it'd be like that.
for people who know a guy that I think does a fantastic job with local sports for KMTV, Adam Kruger. That the NDSU coach looks exactly like him. Like they could be brothers.
Well, how about that? So you're saying if he ever looks for a job in Fargo, they're going to be,
They'll be like, wait a minute,
done.
I think we know who you are. Joel on the JTech Zone, JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed was chiming in on our conversation about we weren't insinuating that Nebraska and the men's basketball team was out at a gentleman's club the night before.
We're proposing different scenarios that could lead to their struggles.
They said they look sluggish.
We've all been there.
Whether that was seeing a certain teacher
professor
in their face, or they, one, as I believe Billy Bob had some digestive issues. Either way, Joel said, on that note, is there a better club name than is there a better club name than Landing Strip? If you remember Varsity Blues, and what we're referring to, the Gentlemen's Club is called the Landing Strip. And if you've watched,
like an airport, right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, if you've watched Friday Night Lights, the TV show, that is also the name of the Gentlemen's Club in the Dillon community, Dillon, Texas. So, yeah, it's very popular. And to answer Joel's question, no, there is not a better name. That's a pretty good one.
No, it's not exactly a get it at Porky's.
Yeah. Well, and I believe, and I don't know if this is still the case. I remember seeing this on a.
You're saying one of the players, and like, look, I'm hungover too.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to defend Boo Booey.
Yeah.
We need to make a shot.
I keep seeing it just bouncing in my face.
Casey's up there dancing.
There's a place in Des Moines, and I remember seeing this on Matches. It's called the Lumberyard, and I think the slogan was
"Bring the wood."
It's good because it leaves you with wood. Yeah, something like that. I might be paraphrasing. Where's our Des Moines residents out there that tune into the show?
Yeah, you should have said this like 2 hours ago. We could have gotten some firsthand.
Yeah, Gary probably would have known. I mean, he grew up just outside of Des Moines. But yeah, it's something like that. I know it's called like the Lumber Yard, and I think that was the slogan. Is it's good because it leaves you with one.
Half the people laughing. The other like, well, of course, it's a lumber yard. What else are you going to buy there? You're going to buy lottery tickets.
Right in the lumber yard, Denny. So Super Bowl tomorrow. Oh my gosh. No, Super Bowl picks will be made tomorrow. Man, how would that be?
The NFL has moved the Super Bowl to Friday morning.
I meant Super Bowl
Plan
picks.
Accordingly.
I bet our Super Bowl picks will be tomorrow.
Your Sunday is now free to watch the Puppy Bowl and get outside.
Yeah. No. Tomorrow's game, though. God, I did it again. Sunday's game. Sunday's game. Jesus.
Right here on 1620 The Zone.
And I've had coffee and everything. I have no excuses.
You didn't spill it off your car.
Nope. It's been flowing. Now we're kind of in. This is like the part of the Super Bowl week that I'm actually happy with, and that is oh gosh, I'm looking at his stream.
You read Andy's thing.
Wow. Oh, okay.
What's wrong with that?
Okay. For a second, I thought that really was
No,
a
it's
name.
an idea. And it's a great idea. I was just out there. I saw Camelback Mountain.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Well done, Andy. Well done. I mean, I don't know if I could even repeat that, but
I just put it on the screen.
Yeah,
People
you can.
read.
I mean, it has something to do with
What else do camels have?
It has something to do with Camelback Mountain. The Camelback
Besides the
Mountains.
lovely lady humps.
Yeah. Because I always feel weird when we refer to Peacock as what we refer to. By the way, the first round, and that also was confirmed by some of our streamers. Gary Boy said the playing games for the Big Ten tournament will be played on the Cock, which makes sense. They should get a little bit of the piece of the Big Ten tournament since you had several games on there. Is the Iowa?
It's cocktastic.
Is the Iowa Penn State game tonight women's on the Cock? Because Iowa women's basketball has been playing on Peacock a lot.
Either Peacock or Big Fox.
I know. So Nebraska's Big Fox. I don't think they're Big Fox tonight, but I think they're FS1.
No, they're not.
I think they're are they FS1 or are they Peacock?
I'm going to find out.
Okay.
I mean,
but
someone will find out for us before I get it.
There's going to be some intrigue on that one. I'll get to that here in a second. But this is the one part about the Super Bowl and the week, because it's exhausting, especially when you lead the week off with Night at the Super Bowl, which is, as Gary likes to call things, a gong show. It's just a circus.
It is.
And then you have more media availability throughout the week. So then you get the night of the Super Bowl, but then you get more press conferences with the players. They're available every day. Now we're starting to
they're on BTN.
They're on, okay.
No Cock.
All right. No Cock tonight. But yeah, I swear Iowa women's basketball has been on Peacock.
For a second, I thought we were going to start quoting Varsity Blues.
No. But
I don't know, Gene.
I'm like, I get so fatigued. Like the week before the Super Bowl, Jimmy, I don't know if you're this way too. Like the week before, it's just kind of like that calm before the storm, and you just hope for like other things going on in sports that sort of occupy. But then like that week for the Super Bowl, like there's that initial adrenaline of like, okay, everybody's there and everybody's talking. Is there any bulletin board material? But then we get into what I appreciate even more, and that is no talking at all. Let's just count down. Let's just get to the game itself. And I feel like today we're finally there because
everything from tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, because I said the game is tomorrow. But everything from like the questions about the turf, and then you have all the players and that vote of the poll of 92%. Hey, by the way, so my in-laws are in Arizona.
Cougars in Las Vegas.
They're not in Vegas, but they're in Arizona.
Yeah.
They had a bobcat walk by their property a couple of times.
The animal, not the piece of machinery.
No, an actual bobcat, and they brought their dog. So
the bobcat brought his dog.
No, was not in its mouth or anything. No, but my in-laws brought their dog, so they probably needs to stay inside as much as possible because you got bobcats roaming.
Yeah, no,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought they had cougars out there.
Yeah, the Super Bowl fatigue itself. Like, I mean, we could talk about having Chiefs fatigue, but like, I don't know. I
believe me, I do.
Right after it never fails.
So much more.
It's right after the media night.
Yes,
I just get fatigued with it. Where it's like, all right, I'm ready. Let's play.
What I tell you, I haven't watched any. I used to eat all that stuff up. Almost said another word. Actually, that other word might more pertain to what I think a lot of this is now. But yeah, I've just ignored all of it.
Yeah.
Partly because I don't need to. Like, we left Kansas City for a reason. Okay, this wasn't the reason, but surely didn't help.
Damn it, the Chiefs are getting good. Time to move.
Yeah. Because everything gets, they'd be like, well, the tornado that hit Linwood a few years ago was like Taylor Swift going through the NFL. Like, no, I'm good.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is now you got, Taylor is in Tokyo, right? Yeah. She's in Tokyo.
Gary has her schedule.
She's getting ready to do her show. So
we can go next door to Sweet and ask them, hey, where's Taylor?
Yeah. I believe it's Tokyo. Now you're kind of like maybe looking at some of the storylines, which I found myself, and I know we brought this up about Kyle Shanahan, that if the Niners were to lose, that would be one of the big storylines. Like I was listening to Stephen A. Smith talk about this yesterday.
If he has a lead and refuses to run the ball again,
yep,
for a third time in a Super Bowl.
Well, Stephen A. Smith brought it up, a far bigger story that if Kyle Shanahan loses this game than if Andy Reid wins. You would think Andy Reid adding another to the resume would be a huge story, but I'm actually in agreement with Stephen A. Smith. Is that I know I don't find myself in that mindset a lot. But I would agree that it'll just be another pearl to the resume of Andy Reid in this Chiefs dynasty if they win. But if Kyle Shanahan loses, and Gary and I touched on this yesterday a little bit, or on Tuesday, you start to look at, you got to go all the way back to when he was the OC with the Atlanta Falcons when they blew that game. It wasn't just Kyle Shanahan's fault.
But
there,
it didn't help that Julio catches
associated.
a ball and you decide, let's pass.
Yeah.
We have the lead in the Super Bowl. Why not be Air Atlanta?
Right.
No.
You're associated with that big collapse. And then you're up by 10 against the Chiefs the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl.
Honey Badger said if they'd kept running, we couldn't stop them because we
Right.
were gassed.
Yep.
So naturally he passed with Jimmy G, who's known for his passing prowess.
And those decisions, again, they fall squarely on the lap of the head guy or the guy who's making those decisions offensively.
5 weeks later, we had a pandemic shut the world down. So you've been warned.
That's true.
Come on, Niners.
So San Francisco, if they were to lose, and I don't, this is where I look at the odds and say, okay, take that for what you will. Okay, the Niners are a 2.5-point favorite. Do they feel like a overwhelming favorite, or do they feel like, okay, they're just flat out the better team? To me, they don't. Like I like the Niners. The Niners are a good team, but what they've done defensively, especially against the run here in the postseason, that would worry me if I'm a Niners fan right now. The fact that Kansas City is back in a very familiar place and Patrick Mahomes is also back in a very familiar place, that would worry me. That would be enough for me to maybe sway that line a little bit more closer to the Kansas City side. I did too.
49ers 2.5. Oh,
but
okay, I'm about to be rich.
But is it a sucker bet too? Again, we'll get into that tomorrow because there is a element to the Niners that I think also should be worrying the Chiefs. But again, it comes down to
coaching.
If the Niners
trust more?
Lose this game, I don't think anybody's going to hold they were a favorite necessarily over Kyle Shanahan, and that would be the conversation. But if they lose this game, I have a feeling it would be because of what the offense was unable to do.
Unless the Chiefs are just by far and away the better team, then you're like, he could have had Joe Montana and Jerry Rice walk through that door and it wouldn't have mattered.
Well, and we've watched these teams for a regular season and now in the postseason. I'm not going to pretend to think that, the Chiefs are, Chiefs should be favored by a touchdown. I'm not trying to insinuate that.
Should be favored by 20.
I think this is a good matchup. I think it's for the most part, pretty even matchup.
It's no Bucks Texans, but go on.
But this is where you get the experience factor. This is where I think it does favor Kansas City. But I have that sneaking suspicion that if this doesn't go the way for the 49ers, there are going to be many moments offensively that we will hold Kyle Shanahan accountable for. And then the narrative will continue. Can Kyle Shanahan win the big one? Yeah.
Mike could win the big one. Yeah. Mike won it twice. In fact, in the first one, Kyle was the cable boy for Mike.
But there's nothing about like Andy Reid at this point that if they lose, you're like, maybe Andy Reid's not the guy we thought he was. No,
he'll just
he's established himself.
Put his Hawaiian shirt on and enjoy his off season.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, which good for Andy. He is the one thing I really like there, and always have.
Getting back to the Nebraska basketball conversation, going to our Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. John says, if I could cross the bridge and place a bet that Nebraska will play their way out of the tournament, I would place that bet. Come on, John. No, John.
PTSD, it's what it's done to us.
And then he went on to say, were you listening to Stephen A. Smith on purpose and you agreed with him on something?
I'm going to go be with John here.
What in the hell is the matter with you?
God,
yeah, I know. I found I'm like, you know what? I was ready to be like, oh, come on. Oh,
because you know what?
I guess he's probably, I would agree.
You know what I would listen to instead? Exactly.
Oh,
because I turned the mics on.
Oh, okay.
I turned them back on.
Oh, okay. By the way, and we got some clarity on the lumberyard. This comes from Mark.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Mark says the slogan was "Where real men go to get wood."
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I like it. That's good.
Yeah. Good marketing.
Adam also said the lumberyard in Des Moines used to be a staple for CU fans back in the Mo Valley days. Just a dirty, dingy strip club. Bring your own booze. Trip to Des Moines for CU Drake always ended the night with the lumberyard packed with CU fans.
Oh, you mean it's not an actual lumberyard?
No.
Okay, good.
Hate to break this to you.
No, I'm glad it's this because at first I was like, no, that's.
Oh,
and I thought that would have been a.
I thought you got that.
I thought so, but either way, these are clever slogans. Whether it's an actual wood business or if it's in a business of the wood, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, it works either way.
Is it BYOB?
Yeah, Joey also confirmed the slogan. I think the slogan was "Where real men get wood" or something like that. I mean, that's what I heard is what Joey said. So I think Joey's insinuating that he's never been there, but he's also heard. I swear I've never been there. I saw a book of matches from my buddy who went to Buena Vista College. He was in Storm Lake, and he had like a book of matches. And I said, "What is the lumberyard?" He goes, "Oh, that's the strip club I was telling you about." And he said, "Look at the slogan." And I'm like, "Oh wow, that's catchy."
And in those days, you're like, no, can't cheat on my employer. Well, I'm a company man.
Oh, you can collaborate instead. All right, when we come back, a little more
Compare
from the
notes.
Creighton side of things with their loss last night to Providence. And truly, how good is Devin Carter? That was my takeaway. We'll get to that. And also Brian Edwards with his prop bets for the Super Bowl, all still ahead.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on The Crossover.
A horny industrial
leather industrial. John has a lot of questions.
Yeah. I do have a lot of questions.
Will
Where
John
can I
get
find
any?
one? What is this horny industrial leather show?
Black Blade?
But what made them industrially horny?
Should we just play 20 questions with this tweet?
What made them industrial horny?
Amazing question.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A breezy and mild day ahead for Thursday. Expect sunshine in the morning with more clouds in the afternoon as a cold front passes through. Highs will top out in the mid-50s around midday, then slide into the 40s by the evening. Still can't rule out a stray shower between noon and 4 p.m. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
There is only one constant in the universe, and that's change.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists.
I'm sure many of you remember the incredibly low interest rates that were available only a few years ago. Well, things changed. Now rates are higher. But would you believe me if I told you there was a time when people were paying double-digit rates? And that's the thing. Everything changes. Rates go up, rates go down. So if you're waiting for the perfect time when rates drop before you buy a home, you might miss out on the home you really want. So when you think about it, what's a thing today might not be a thing tomorrow. See? Change is good. I'm Brent Rasmussen. Call me at Mortgage Specialists, and we can show you all the details. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.
Click mtg-specialists.com. NMLS number 5918, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey guys, it's Nick for Hims. You know, there was probably a time that when you started losing your hair or you were having issues in the bedroom that you thought there was nothing you could do about it, and it was something you didn't want to bring a lot of attention to. The good news is there is something you can do about it, and it's something that you don't have to talk all day about to find a solution. Through Hims, you can upgrade your daily routines with prescription treatments that can make a big difference and help you regain your confidence, help you feel like yourself again. And if you want to regrow your hair, have better sex, or tackle anxiety and depression, you don't have to go to the doctor, the pharmacy, or spend all day talking about it. Just go to hims.com and do something about it. If prescribed, treatments that guys love are shipped directly to your door in unmarked packaging, so it's nobody's business but your own. And since it's all online, that means no doctor's offices, no pharmacies, just solutions that can bring real results. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/start. That's hims.com/start for your free online visit. HIMS.com/START.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
This is a sale so hot, Standard Heating and Air can only do it once a year. Right now, buy a Carrier air conditioner from Standard Heating and Air and get a free furnace. Now, that's a hot deal.
StandardAC.com, where we do the things we do.
Carrier, turn to the experts.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Just looking at the Shelby Mass up-to-date brackets. That's the one from USA Today that you'll get, again, daily. I'm like Gary. I'm now into the daily. And interest on the brackets. I don't wait like the what
You
is
don't wait for Lenardi on Monday?
Lenardi is like, what is he, 2 a week now?
I think later in the season, yeah.
Okay. Jerry Palm as well.
To be fair, I'm not really used
Our
to
guy,
looking at
though.
brackets and kind of just assume I know where things are going to.
Tim Kruger, that's our guy. And we'll talk to him on Monday, by the way. Right now, the Shelby Mass bracket, your 1 seeds are Purdue, UConn, Houston, and North Carolina. If you're curious on where Creighton may have fallen after losing last night, the Shelby Mass bracket wag.com has got Creighton as the second 4 seed. So Creighton as a 4. Now, as far as Nebraska, how about still the top 9th seed? Now, again, this is just 1.
But that's a sign. Stop messing around. Do stuff.
Yeah. This is 1.
Do the thing where you score the points and more of them than the other team.
That would be a good start.
It's my hot take.
That's a damn good one. They've got Nebraska in Dallas taking on FAU.
The Rex Burkhead Invitational.
And so they would take on, if they were to win, Houston. Houston, they have playing South Dakota State. And then as far as Creighton.
The whole country going to get behind the Jackrabbits.
Yeah. Creighton would be in the Indianapolis bracket.
They know
that
I'm sorry,
no, they wouldn't. They'd be in New York.
Oh.
They'd be in New York.
Well, they know that place too.
They would be taking on 13th seed Cornell.
Most hated rivals.
On the other side, and the 5-12 would be 5th seed South Carolina and the 12th seed Appalachian State.
Gamecocks.
Mm-hmm. Who they got in Omaha? Let's see.
Kansas, Iowa State.
The aforementioned Northwestern Wildcats as a 10 seed. So even with the loss last night in the Shelby Mass bracket, Nebraska's a 9, Northwestern's a 10.
Take that, boo-boo.
Yeah. Taking on Florida. So we get Northwestern Florida, Oakland, Kansas. And then you'd get Texas A&M, Texas Tech. Ooh, that actually would be a fun one. That's
Southwest
a 10-7.
Conference. They don't like each other.
I know. And then Marquette and High Point. So we get Shaka.
And
but Shaka back.
A point that's high.
The highest of all points, in fact. So that is the Shelby Mass, the bracketwag.com.
So everything's good. Everyone's freaking out for 3.5 hours over nothing.
Yeah, how about that in the...
I stayed up for nothing. Sip stayed up for
how
nothing.
How about that? Like, you get that with Nebraska losing, maintains the top 9 spot, while Northwestern is sitting there as a 10.
Take that.
Yeah. Even though they're undefeated at home. They've actually won on the road, too.
Yeah.
That was the one thing last night, though, the Seth Davis. I didn't love this because there is sort of that peripheral view of all of a sudden paying attention to Nebraska. You're watching that game. There wasn't a lot on last night once you got to the late games. And so you start watching this Northwestern team, which is drawing some eyeballs. And Nebraska, which there was a big article on Fred in the Chicago Sun-Times yesterday because he was returning back. They like him. They did say that the Nebraska basketball program is like one of the worst jobs, though, essentially. Yeah. Which I would disagree with that. I think it's actually a pretty good job because there's not an expectation to win every year. You really have to do the bare minimum. You have to find yourself, I shouldn't say the bare minimum, but you have to find yourself in the field of 68, maybe 1 out of every 3-4 years.
I told Gary, and I
maybe 1 out of 3.
I maybe told you this off the air. Nebraska ball, to me, people are going to think this is an insult. Trust me, it's not. Is like Kansas football, and that people, oh no, I can't believe it. I'm saying that, and that there is a part of the fan base that's super loyal, very much like this is their baby. And you see Gary talk about it because when he was in school, it was a whole different animal. It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Teams were great, fun basketball. They won a lot. You have a group, and you're seeing it with the crowds and the fact that Saturday sold out, that you have a group of people that want to buy in. They want to go all in on this. And that's why we it's tongue in cheek when we talk about these things, but you want a game like last night, just an example, or Sunday to go a different way because you want reason to believe, oh, wow, they might be good. But the first time that something goes against you, you're like, oh, here we go again. That's why we joke about that.
I think they're a good-ish team. Like, or as Gary's called them a weird good team. Yeah, like I have no problem saying that they're good.
They're likable.
Ish.
I think both the games last night, both teams are likable.
They like other teams. Creighton is also in this boat. Like a lot of college basketball teams in America, they've got some
their flaws.
Flaws, yeah. They've got, as Doug emailed earlier, they got warts.
Mm-hmm. And Doug's right.
Some of those you have personnel that can overcome that. Others could be your downfall when it comes to postseason play, or it could be your downfall of keeping you from postseason play.
Like Creighton's like, hey, somebody else got to chip in. They're not going to be anyone else. This is it. This is our dudes.
Yeah.
My team's out on the floor.
Nebraska, there are things that they're physically unable to do, but can they overcome that with the things that they do well? I mean, it's pretty much the same remedy for everybody who's got some type of deficiency right now. But
that's like Sunday when K-State's throwing up shots and they're missing, but he was making a lot of them.
Yeah.
So you live with that. Hey, you got to live with the good too and the bad.
Well, and like the Seth Davis, like kind of the micro view of Nebraska losing that game last night, or in the fashion that they were at the time were losing when he tweeted that out.
Did he say mean things?
Well, he just said that they've got a couple of good wins on their resume, but they haven't won it. I think he pointed out they haven't won a conference, or they've looked really bad on the road in conference play, and that the committee doesn't look too favorably to resumes like that.
Got it. So Seth Davis is out and runs on Dorothy Lynch.
Well, I think there was one thing that Seth Davis failed to mention. They don't have two good wins on the resume. They have two spectacular wins.
Yeah.
On the resume. Like Purdue and Wisconsin are two very good wins on their resume. And if you're going to knock their road record, which it's all part of it.
Fair.
You've also got to have context when it comes to their quad one wins, which they also have a handful of them.
They beat good teams.
Yeah. So you take the good of the bad.
Where you can stick that
that's
why hot dog.
That's why it comes down to they're goodish.
Goodish.
They're goodish. That's what Nebraska is.
Hey, it's better than being baddish.
Creighton's a good team. Creighton, I have no problem. Creighton's not goodish. There's nothing about Creighton that I'm like,
hell, even
they're
last
not very
night,
good.
I thought they're still good. They lost a game.
Yeah,
Dude hits a shot from 45 feet. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Hit him with a crowbar?
There's a little bit more definitive qualities about Creighton. Now, the defensive side of this thing is starting to worry me just a little bit. But yeah, the Ashworth,
it's happy for him.
That storyline is a positive. Yeah,
I think
that is a major positive developing story for Creighton. You got other options when we were talking about the conversation yesterday of, who do you trust to take the big shot for both of those teams? Creighton, maybe you're not as definitive of 55 because you've got other people who can do it. I still would put the money on Baylor Shireman, but Stephen Ashworth has shown he can do it too. There are things that you have to keep in mind when it comes to these teams that you're like, okay, will this keep them from getting to ultimately what their goal is or what their realistic goal is?
All about matchups.
And for Creighton,
that yesterday,
second weekend. For Nebraska, getting to the NCAA tournament. That's what it is.
And then I just want to see them win a game because I just want to see everyone how happy they'd be. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I'm not going to get in the whole story. One fan base versus the other.
I don't want to get into the even.
I'm rooting for storylines that make our job more fun.
The remote possibility that if even, no, I can't even go there. But what if both teams made it to the second week? No, I'm not. Nebraska.
You said it, not me.
Nebraska get there first. Okay, Creighton will be there.
Get there.
Creighton will be in the tournament. There's.
Would they relax and play with house
money? There's no
money?
issue there. Dude, Saturday's a big game for Nebraska. Saturday is a very big game for
Nebraska. If you're going, be angry. Just pretend, hey, this could have been the 97 national championship game in football.
Yeah, it is sold out. All right, we're going to come back, wrap things up with Brian Edwards.
They don't sit on Saturday?
No, I'm not doing
okay.
No. That's its own thing.
It
can stay its own thing. Again, it's got to be organic. You can't force that. It's got to be organic. That's why the OG no-sit Sunday against Wisconsin was great because it was organic. It wasn't like dubbed, hey, did you hear? It's no sit. No, that just happened.
Fans are encouraged to not sit today. None of that.
Well, it was referred to no sit Sunday.
No sit Sundays this Sunday at PBA.
We got some prop bets to get to with our guy Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider. He joins us right after the break.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
If you're looking for a safe and reliable vehicle to get you through all types of winter weather and more, Baxter Subaru has you covered.
Symmetrical all-wheel drive comes standard on nearly all Subaru models and provides you better traction, improved stability, and maximized performance on wet and snowy roads. Subaru's all-wheel drive also enhances off-road capabilities. Get incredible deals and great lease offers today on all our new Subaru models. Or shop anytime at BaxterSubaruOmaha.com.
Betting on your favorite sporting events just got a whole lot easier. Warhorse Sportsbook is now open in Omaha. Save yourself the drive across the river and put your money where your mouth is at Horseman's Park, 6303 Q Street. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin, don't you soft on the party. This is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. My crepe is always soft. It's our party vibe. She's cushion and face, so our chicks feel fly. So what? Every booty wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, honey bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for the perfect plan for Valentine's Day, Agave Azteca has the Valentine's special just for you. Enjoy an unforgettable moment with your love in a charming atmosphere with live music, 2 dishes of your choice, 2 drinks, and a dessert, all for only $49.95. But that's not all. They have a daily lunch menu from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for just $7 Monday through Friday, and the dinner menu from 6 to 9 p.m. for just $10 Monday through Thursday. 5170 South 72nd Street in Ralston. Agave Azteca, the shortcut to Mexico.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game. So I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in Nebraska at highschoolofficials.com.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-238-7633.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
You know, it just dawned on me as we get into Super Bowl Sunday this weekend, all kinds of ways to wager on the Super Bowl. But as we bring in our next guest, Brian Edwards of Vegas Insider, MajorWager.com, I noticed when we get our picks, we don't really get any golf action. Brian, why do you hate golf so much? Waste management going on? Why do you got to hate golf so much and not give me any good golf betting tips? Come on, man.
I'm ignorant of it, and I don't like to speak on subjects I'm ignorant on.
No, I appreciate that.
I do enough gambling. I've got 5 sports: football, basketball, UFC, college and pro football and basketball to keep me busy. So
you play to your strengths. I get it. You're smart. You play to your strengths. That's what you're supposed to do.
There we go. That's better said than I
did. We know this is just this is like Christmas when it comes to. I like to call it having fun when it comes to sports wagering. Look, sports wagering should be fun, especially when you're doing it responsibly. But with Sunday, this is where even before it was legalized, it was encouraged to really dig into just every little thing about the Super Bowl, from the color of the Gatorade to the length of the national anthem. So those are always fun, and I'm sure everybody's got their own pools and they're doing things like that. But also the prop bets, which, Brian, as you know, in being in this business, this has also become a big part of sort of the everyday wager when it comes to just betting on a regular sporting event, not necessarily a postseason or a Super Bowl, but the player prop, the anytime touchdown score, all that. At what point did you see that maybe get a lot more volume when it comes to just the prop bets itself on an everyday basis?
Yeah, well, I remember as far back as when I had season tickets to the Falcons, and so we're talking like 03 to 07 or 08. I remember when this was before Michael Vick went to jail. I mean, I was doing a few prop but I only think that I feel like they would only be available for Monday Night Football in terms of we're going back 20 years, like the prop to score the first touchdown in the game, or various props. I feel like it was only available Monday Night Football. But now that we're legal and obviously so many young folks, because I'm in my late 40s now, so many young folks have always been into the fantasy stuff. And the prop bets really correlate to the fantasy crowd, as well. So they've been around, for every game going on a while now, but not going all the way back to Michael Vick like I was talking about more than 20 years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. With the fantasy part of it that absolutely makes sense. All right, so let's start with what we like on Sunday. And first of all, the first touchdown scored, the Travis Kelce odds are interesting at plus 800. Do you like that one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I'm going with for the first touchdown. I've hit 4 of these through the years. I hit Devin Hester 25-1 and
nice.
Bears Colts for an opening kickoff way back. Yeah, I hit Anquan Bolden 12-1 in New Orleans between the Niners and Ravens. I hit Brandon LaFell 16-1 and up the second Pats Giants. And I hit Odell Beckham 2 years ago at 10-1. So I'm gonna go Kelce at 8-1. He scored the first touchdown against the Ravens. He's had 3 touchdowns in 3 playoff games. He only had 5 in the regular season, but he's seen increased targets here in the playoffs, and no reason to think that Mahomes won't be looking for him early in Austin.
Let's go with our special teamers too. The shortest punt. Who gets that? And what are we looking at as far as the distance on the over or under at 38.5 yards?
Yeah, so Chiefs Tommy Townsend, I think his shortest punt will go over 38.5 yards. He averaged 46.1 during the regular season, 47.1 during the playoffs. He's punting about around 3.3 times a game, roughly, in both the playoffs and regular season. And I think the only concern we have is a pooch punt. But even if he's punting from midfield, if he gets it inside the 11 or further, we'll still be in good shape. So that's one that I'm doing over 38.5.
We got another one with Travis Kelce in receiving yards as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go over 72.5. There, Laporta had 97 receiving yards on 9 catches against the Niners in the NFC championship game. And again, I'm thinking double-digit targets from Mahomes to Kelce on Sunday.
What about some rushing yards for Isaiah Pacheco?
Yeah, I like over 67.5 rushing yards. Last 4 games, he's had 68, 97, 89, and 130. And Green Bay at San Fran, Aaron Jones had 100 rushing yards, 18 carries. The Lions rushed for 182 yards on 29 carries. That's better than 6 yards per carry. And David Montgomery had 93 rushing yards on just 15 attempts. So let's go with Pacheco over 67.5.
Yeah, I absolutely love that one as well, given what we've seen from San Francisco defensively. All right, so the line itself, we've seen pretty much holding steady right at 2.5. So if you're looking at just the game itself, which way are you leaning?
No lean. I've already played the Chiefs +2. Nothing too in-depth on the handicap. I mean, I think we've got the better quarterback, and that's nothing against Purdy. And I think we've got the better head coach, and that's really nothing against Shanahan. And I think we have the better defense. And Since the debacle on Christmas Day at home, the outright loss to the Raiders, the Chiefs have won 5 in a row, both straight up and against the spread. They went the road route for the first time in the Mahomes Reed era. Obviously getting to the Super Bowl, going on the road to do so the whole time. Or I'm sorry, not the whole time. Miami at home, the first one. And look, San Fran, I think, is very fortunate to be here. I mean, you could look at that 2 ways if you're San Fran. One way, you haven't played your best football, but yet you're here. But then the flip side is you're not playing great football, not playing great defense, in my opinion. So I like the Chiefs plus the 2, and I don't think you're not going to get better than plus 110 money line. So no reason to go money line because, if you lose by 1 or lose by 2, you'll be very mad at yourself. And if you really need to get plus money, just go Mahomes to win MVP is plus 150 at FanDuel. If you need the plus money so bad, I wouldn't do it money line for plus 110. I'd do Chiefs plus 2.
I was actually surprised by this number, and that is the first half point total for Kansas City at 10.5. So is that are we looking at the over here?
Yeah, and it's actually a small plus money or anywhere from even money to plus 105. Kansas City has scored 16, 13, and 17 in the first half in the playoffs, and Detroit had 24 at halftime. Could have been 28 possibly had they gone for it on 4th down and gotten it. So, I like Chiefs team total over 10.5 in the first half.
You're rolling Team Chiefs. I'm not seeing one Niner prop bet in there at all. This is a clean Chiefs sweep here.
Yeah, I go Chiefs. I hope it's a good strategy. We shall see.
Before we let you go, too, and we were just spending some time talking about Creighton, their loss last night on the road to Providence. They got a tough one at Xavier, but we're starting to look at some future plays with the NCAA tournament teams to cut down the nets. What are you seeing right now with Creighton and even another familiar foe from last year's Final Four?
Yeah, I think FanDuel this morning's got Creighton and FAU both at 60-1. I think that's great value on both. I had a 40-1 ticket on Creighton last year when I got to the Elite Eight, and I also had a 30-1 ticket on UConn, so it ended up working out okay. I also had a Kansas State ticket at 99-1, which if Keontae Johnson didn't get in foul trouble against FAU, they would have been in the Final Four for sure. And I think South Carolina's worth a shot. I got them at 100-1 yesterday, but the best number I found this morning is 90-1 at DraftKings. South Carolina is legit. I think that win at Tennessee proved that. And then they go on the road at Georgia, where Georgia's been pesky all year, and win by double digits on Saturday in a letdown scenario. And FAU, same guys as last year. They've beaten Arizona out in Vegas. They're on a nice winning streak right now. I believe 7 games going into UAB tonight. And what a great game that was with Creighton and Providence last night. No shame in that L. And I think Creighton is poised for another nice run in March.
It's Brian Edwards joins us every Thursday at this time, and a big one this weekend with Super Bowl 58, VegasInsider.com. B, always appreciate you joining us. Best of luck this weekend. We'll look forward to catching up with you next week.
Sounds great. Enjoy Super Sunday.
Good stuff there from Brian Edwards. And, there you have it. He's a lot of Chiefs play.
Yeah, I'm just convinced they're going to win forever. Or curse.
Well, at some point, even the Patriots lost a game or two.
Yeah, it's just a curse.
Okay.
I don't want to end
Be all right.
I don't want to end the show on a negative note because I'm known for my positivity and utter chipperness.
That's true.
In the dictionary, that's chipperness is me. Did you know that there are prop bets for the Puppy Bowl? How do
you make a bet on that? Like, I don't know anything about the puppies that are going to be in there. What if they're late scratches?
And that's the thing. So the overall winners, and I'll go over this tomorrow. A Team Fluff is minus 150. Team Rough is plus 110. Total points, the odds over 165.5, 110, plus 110. Under 165.5. It gets better, minus 130.
Team Rough is
the sex
solid.
of the winning TD score. Female is minus 240. Male is plus 160. So no leg lifting there. And the MVP winner, these are the names of puppies. Oh, no, the second one probably has an endorsement deal with us. There's Patrick Mabones at plus 500. Small ED or Small Ed.
Small
Poor
ED.
bastard. Plus 750. Captain Chaos plus 900. Dallas, well, that's going to go over well with the 49er contingent plus 1,000. See, they're just everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the only bowl the Cowboys can make these days is the Puppy Bowl. I'll take it. And finally, plus 1,100, Niner.
Do the dogs have to be spayed or neutered?
I don't know.
Because I feel like that could be a prop bet too.
Yeah, that'd be the Bob Barker.
Will the
Memorial.
MVP also be spayed or neutered?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, and so it says here in the 2024 Puppy Bowl odds, Team Fluff is the minus 50 favorite over Team Rough, giving them a 60% implied probability to garner victory. Patrick Mabones of Team Fluff is the plus 500 MVP favorite at sportsbooks, while Bark Purdy of Team Rough is available as a plus 35 long shot at most sports books. You literally can go to a sports book and bet on the Puppy Bowl.
I want to put just,
I would too.
Maybe $20 down on Bark Purdy.
If I worked upstairs or was on the other side of that table, I might have the expendable income to be able to do that.
The puppy's Mr. Irrelevant. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, some interesting games tonight. Men's action, it's kind of a light slate, although you do have some Big Ten action with Iowa. They will be at Penn State, but on the women's side of it, it's second-ranked Iowa hosting Penn State.
Guys.
The Clark guys,
How
keep
many
an
points
eye.
does she need?
Exact. Well, it's 67.
Oh, she can get 2 more.
Is that right? I think it's 60, right around there. If
just go for it tonight.
Well,
or do we want to see it Sunday just for the awkwardness of?
Or if she has an off night, does that make Sunday more taxing to where it'd be easier for her to have it at home on the following game? So that's why I think there's gonna be some eyeballs to see. I don't think anybody's thinking she's gonna go for a 60 burger tonight, but does she essentially cut it in half? Because then you make it very interesting on Sunday, depending on what she's able to do tonight, that still may not put her necessarily. I mean, she's always gonna be in striking distance because she could put up 60 plus. But does it make Sunday a little bit more challenging? Because remember, there's odds on this too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On when she'll break it, how she'll break it, where she'll break it,
how the PA announcer will be. If it's at home, the PA announcer will sound like Sam Kinison. If it's on Sunday, I'm hoping the PA announcer will just say Clark. Very monotone.
Just say Clark history.
Basket by Clark. Leading scorer of all time. Timeout on the floor.
Congratulations, GBR. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they play tonight on BTN. It's 8:00, Penn State and Iowa. So see what she gets tonight, and that'll give you a little bit better of idea for everyone who is making their way out to Pinnacle Bank Arena on Sunday.
And if you're scalping tickets, this could help too.
Yeah, it could. Big thanks to our guests on the show today.
That was fun.
Yes, it was.
I think I'll stay employed here.
Sarah Baker Hansen joining the show. Also, big thanks to Sip and Brian Edwards. If you missed any of the show, radio replay up for you. Gary will be back with us tomorrow for the first couple of hours. We'll talk about that big matchup tonight between Omaha and North Dakota, and also get you set up for a big weekend,
Frankie.
Super Bowl 58. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone.